easy. But experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
For the upcoming right-hander, brake 30 meters later and ease off the pressure.
A very, very good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome back to Thursday evenings here on the Evolution Sim Racing YouTube channel ahead of the first race meeting of our brand new Season 9 GT3 Championship here in Split A tonight, arriving at the Okayama circuit in southern Japan for the first time, can you believe it, since Evolution Sim Racing's inaugural race event just shy of 2 years ago, July 6th, 2023. For our very first promo race. I think it's safe to say the league, the drivers and the teams have certainly come a long way since that point, and I'm delighted to welcome you all back once again ahead of what promises to be another cracking season. As always, my name is Joseph Glass and I'll be taking you through all of tonight's action as we look to get this season underway, and joined alongside our returning series broadcaster Mr. Chaz Draycott, who will resume primary duties of the coverage of this championship from rounds 2 through to rounds 10 to see what the championship brings toward the back end of August later in the year. So with not too long left to wait before we're green flag racing once again, Chaz, I bet you're just as excited as I am to see what these drivers are going to put on display for us tonight, and then particularly if anyone can stake that early competitive claim in the season, in the championship of course, with an eye out on a lot of our new debuting drivers, particularly those that are at the sharp end of our elite division.
Absolutely, Joe. Yeah, it's great to be back. Hello, everybody. Lovely to be back in the box. Let's not forget, this is not just pre-season for the drivers and the teams. It's pre-season for us as well. We get to iron out any technical hitches with any graphical updates we have, or anything to do with just how a broadcast runs, and obviously it gives us commentators and broadcasters chance to see the cars on track, get used to the liveries before the drivers do that really annoying thing and change them last minute before round one. But yeah, this circuit, Okayama, used to be known as Thai Circuit Aida. Fantastic racetrack in my opinion. I think it really suits GT3 cars. It's a very Marmite circuit though. A lot of drivers don't like this place, a lot of drivers love it. So I'm intrigued to see whose love for it shines through this evening.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's been 2 years since we've come here suggests the latter there, Chaz. I don't think it's at the top of too many drivers' pile in terms of their preferred circuits, but nonetheless, it's a nice, fairly tame circuit to get stuck into to test out some of these new cars, of course. The first time that a lot of these guys might have driven these GT3s since last week's patch, which saw quite a significant change to their tyre model, to the way that they are handling. So a little bit of a shake-up in the order perhaps to what we're used to, and a chance for some of these guys to try out new machines that maybe they haven't driven before.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing with GT3 cars. You know, we've got a big overhaul for them recently on iRacing, but there's a lot of different manufacturers that you can drive as well. Not just strengths and weaknesses for the cars themselves, but obviously personal strengths and weaknesses between some of the drivers. You know, we've all got cars and styles that we prefer to drive or manage to get more pace out of, and it's interesting to see that there is quite a mix here tonight. We've got a number of different cars out there on the circuit that I'm excited to feast my eyes on, I think is the right way of saying it.
Absolutely then. So, as Charles mentioned earlier, some slight technical niggles for us before we got started, but it looks as though everything is okay at the moment. Bear with us if we start to have any blips throughout the broadcast, but we've been here before, and it's always resolvable, so we'll do our best just in case that does happen. And remember, of course, we have 2 race divisions ongoing as we speak. We have the Elite and the Pro Division drivers with us here on Split A, and then also we have our Premier and Evo classes being hosted, of course, on the Evolution Sim Racing YouTube channel as well by the wonderful Mr. Paul Walsh. So be sure to show your support for those drivers over there as well. A little bit of a quiet circuit tonight. Only 24 of the 60 have arrived tonight for pre-season, just to get a little bit of a taste about what to expect, of course, and it's a good opportunity for some of the new drivers to get an understanding of some of their competition. We've got a few of them that we can run through, and it won't be long before we get underway for our new revised qualifying format. So before we do that then, let's take a quick look at the formalities ahead of this one. So it's a new season, and it's a new look for some of our sponsors. So the main headline sponsor, Trophy AI, stays where they are, and they are leading this championship so far this season. Kame GP2, the Kame Group and the GP2 Group are back again, as always. Of course, Kame supplying all of the driver trophies that these guys will be competing for. And then our brand new sponsor this season, SimCoach, offering various supporting services for sim racing. They have setups mostly for GT3 cars. They do one-to-one coaching sessions and also have weekly group coaching sessions for all of the members. So be sure to check out SimCoach. All the information is in the server, and of course we have a handful of the drivers and driving with us and the organisers of that team as well, so you can be sure to message them if you're interested in any of their services. So a quick look at the calendar as well then. A different calendar, of course, to what we saw last season, coming back to Okayama for the first time, and we'll make our way through a variety of tracks that weren't on the calendar last season. Returning back to Daytona, to Brands Hatch, to Fuji, of course. Heading back to Spa for the first time in a little while. Virginia is there once again. Mazzano, we haven't raced there for a long time. Road America, the only circuit on the calendar that makes a return appearance, of course. Rounding out the end of August, round 10 in Silverstone, which will be a good one as well. And I can't remember the last time we closed the season at Silverstone. It was early days for sure in this GT3 championship. A quick look at the trophies that the drivers are competing for. 40 of them to be won, 40 personalised trophies to get your hands on. You'll have yourself, you'll have your team name, you'll have your finishing position on there as well. Those guys are going to be handed out to the top 5 drivers in each of our 4 race divisions, and then each driver from the top 5 teams in the Teams Championship will also take home one of those trophies. So that's the main thing that these guys have got their eyes on, aside from, of course, the general racing and the general competition. And that's what the guys are trying to do come the end of the season. So we'll cut back over to trackside. We're underway for qualifying already, Chaz, and there's a new format on the horizon for these guys, of course. It's the same 20-minute qualifying that we're used to. However, given the new tyre model, me and the admin team decided it might be a wise idea to give these guys as many laps as they need to get the tyres up to temperature and to get the car going strong. So no more only 4 laps for these guys. They can now do as much running as they can in that 20-minute window.
And that doesn't just help them, but it helps us as well as broadcasters, I'm sure, much like we had in previous seasons, Joe, on your words, on your streams as well. It was a lot of waiting around once all the cars had done their 4 laps in the first few minutes, and then people like John Breitenbach hiding in the medical cars and in the marshal's posts and everything. So it's great to see that they've got this extra time now to get laps on the board, and it means that the session will continue to develop as time goes on as well. You know, we'll get those last-ditch efforts and those final laps that come in and improve their starting positions, and these qualifying sessions are always so close as well. I've seen some wonderful names up and down the order. Great to see the likes of Ben Bennyworth as well. He's just signed up to one of my leagues, actually, away from ESR. It's good to see him back. He's a continued supporter of mine. He's actually just been one of the first drivers to put a time on the board. James Howarth has done a 1:29.466. Luke Lucchese, 1:30.338. He'll want to do better than that. Sard Plurg, he's just moved up into first place in the elite class as well. Tristan Dinnebrega back again as well. I've also noticed a pair of nerds in the order. Adam Watson and Arthur Thurtle, the Altitude 3M Esports boys. Again, they've raced in other leagues under my banners before, and it's great to see them on track. And Aidan Millward as well. We don't tend to give special treatment, but Aidan, a very successful YouTuber, over 100,000 subscribers these days. He is part of our grid, and I'm certainly excited to see how he gets on. We're ex-teammates at the old Zanshow Simsport, which has now become Brabham Esports. Hence who he is racing for now. It's good to see him out there. So it's a very competitive grid, and well, we've only got half of it here.
It is, Chaz, you're right. Everybody out on the circuit, bar 2 drivers. Yannis Aubert, Adam Watson still in the pit lane. That's a slide for Luke Lucchese. Well caught by Luke on the way out of turn 7, of course. Now uphill through the left-hander through Redmond at turn 8. Lucchese doing okay at the moment. 4th in the order in the elite class. Half a second off the front row of the grid as it stands then. It was an interesting end to the season last time out for Mr. Donobriga and Mr. Lucchese. Didn't quite have the run of form that they're used to having in the second half of the season, and sadly, around Monza just a fortnight ago, it accumulated in a double DNF for the two South African drivers, and sadly for them, they led the team's championship for most of the season, lost out in the final race meeting to the Vulcan Motorsports Gold debuting team. So these guys will definitely be wanting to turn up today, make a claim, of course. However, Mr. Plurg of the Vulcan Motorsports Gold team leads them at the moment. It's only 300ths of a second between he and Tristan Donobriga, as Arthur Thurtle sets the fastest lap time in class at 28.374. Not good enough, however, to beat Paul Carloshaw, who's currently the fastest man on the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely is. Paul flying up there at the top of his class, doing a great job, but not just the top of his class, but the top of the whole field. This gorgeous Suma GP2 Racing Porsche heading down towards the hairpin now. It's a real pinch point of the circuit, that hairpin. There's going to be a lot of action into there this evening. Arthur Thurtle definitely one to watch, though. He's the fastest of the elite drivers at the moment. Adam Watson not out there on the circuit. Unsure what is going on with Adam at the moment, but he and Yannis Albert not out on the circuit. Unfortunately, Joe, I must admit that I didn't really keep up much with Season 8. So were the Altitude 3M Esports boys there, or is this their debut for their appearance? So this is their first season here to try and prove a point.
It is, yeah, and I'm looking through some of the team names now to get more familiar with who was here and who wasn't here. So we had the Brabham Motorsports team, was just Daniel Handover on his own this time last season. He's of course been joined by Aidan Millward this season as well. But you're right, Chaz, that team, Altitude 3M, weren't here last season. I'm just going to quickly scan the list, actually. The Mission R team, Dan Cross is in there. That's a debuting team for us as well. The Simcast Racing team were with us, but I believe at reduced numbers. So those guys have fielded a full team this season. The Double H Racing, or HH Racing, I think Double H is probably easier to roll off the tongue. Those guys joining us for the first time as well. And then Yannis Aubert, we all know he's been there. Well, he comes into a new team every single season. This time he's a Penguin. The Penguin Racing endeavours for Mr. Aubert this season. Not sure what that's all about. Hopefully we'll see his livery. They better have a penguin on it.
But it's bright pink based on what he's saying in the Discord. He likes to have sort of meme-ish liveries. The RDSA McLaren, though, hello, that is absolutely delightfully beautiful car. That is stunning. I must admit, I wasn't a huge fan of their liveries on the, well, I call it Honda NSX, but it was the Acura NSX, actually. I didn't like that livery last season, and I made no qualms about it. But yeah, this McLaren looks absolutely stunning. These boys know how to make a really cool looking race car. They have that sort of strange gold, white and red stripe down the middle of them, and it reminds me of the old BAR liveries from the early 2000s. And the Lamborghini looks just as wonderful as well, Justin Eloff behind the wheel. There wasn't any Lambos last season, was there, you said, Joe?
There was not, and we've got one right here now. Wanted to flash up their livery, of course. A big change for a lot of these guys. I think from memory it was the three of them. We had Eloff, we had Donobriga Lucchese, and Luke King, and all three of them in a Porsche. Denobrigo was in the Acura, but now they're changing it up once again. So Luke Lucchese sticking with the Porsche. What I hear is it's not as strong as it used to be in this patch. Tristan Denobrigo making a return back here. That's what we need to help disperse. I mean, look, there's not many Porsches on the grid at all, only 6 or 7 at the moment, which bodes very, very well for another championship. Remember 2 seasons ago, Chaz, it was 85% Porsche, and then you kept making remarks about how we were just driving effectively a Porsche Cup. But Tristan going back to the McLaren, which is what we've seen him in, I think, in Season 5. I believe it was the first season the McLaren was available. Tristan got himself in there, went from the Porsche into the Acura, and now he's back in the McLaren.
Yeah, he certainly likes that thing, by the look of it. This is a good car to see. This is a real stalwart of a machine for me in GT3 racing, the Mercedes-AMG GT3. The Evo version of it, of course, with the massive angler mouth on the front. Wonderful looking race car. For me, a GT3 field isn't complete without any of these. This is the Vulcan Motorsports car. Third Plurg behind the wheel. 5th at the moment. Luke Lucchese's just gone a bit quicker up into 2nd place. And the Vulcan livery looking spectacular on any car it goes on as well. He's got his teammate, actually, Vince Zajewski, just behind him. I've been practicing that in my head. Yeah, trust me.
Yeah, well done.
I was scared to say it. I think if I say his first name at the same time, I'll get his surname wrong. So even though I know it's Ignace, I just know I'll get it wrong. Still, great to see the Mercedes in the field. And hopefully it's a strong season for it, because it is one of my favourite GT3 cars. Lovely Eau Rouge livery on the Brabham Motorsport McLaren, harking back to the old sort of white and blue Parmalat liveries that you would have seen many moons ago on Brabhams in Formula 1. Aidan Millward making it around that last corner in the 720S, making its very unique sound down the start finish straight. He's wearing his usual number 67, and he currently finds himself 9th in class right now, and he's 15th outright. So he's in the thick of it, right in the mix.
Yeah, the order is just about shaping up a bit better now that the cars are, as we said, takes a little longer to get them up to temperature. They're about up to temperature now. Some guys will be doing lower fuel runs potentially if they know that they can get the car up to temps within 3 or 4 laps. Some guys might fill the tank a little bit higher and run for the entire session. One thing's for certain though, we're going to be seeing laps getting posted for the entirety. 9 minutes to go. Still so much time that can be changed, but the order is looking nice. The top 6 elite drivers, the only 6 elite drivers to qualify, are first to 6th in field order, and then we have a nice gaggle of 16 pro drivers in behind them. So at the moment the field is shaping up nicely. Yannis Aubert, Adam Watson, neither of which look like they, in fact yes they are, they're on the circuit now. They just haven't set a lap time. Let's go and check out Yannis's livery, shall we? Oh my word.
Oh wow, it's so clean and simple. I love it.
I know, I don't know what to say. I mean, that's quite a cute penguin, I must say, at the front, but that's dazzling.
Jesus,
maybe.
Wept.
Is it too much? That is
Who let him in?
The purple wheel rims. I know you don't like pink, but it's close enough.
I mean, the purple. You know what? It looks like oxidized metal on the wheels. Actually, it sort of suits it in that metallic purple. But God above.
Penguin. Just
penguin. Yeah, that's just it. Just penguin. Oh,
to be fair,
it's
better than the Minecraft racing livery that they've got in the European GT Championship. That's just a brown mud patch. It's horrific. This is horrific in its own way, but I mean, we kind of expected it, and this is what we've got. Lovely.
The thing is, you can't hate it because it's got adorable little penguins all over
exactly.
it. You feel bad for hating it, but yeah, it's part of the banter. It's what we always get from Yannis. He's a very funny bloke, very dry sense of humour. This is a lovely looking race car. Joe Sparra in the Dexterous Motorsports Camar machine. Now, there's a long and ridiculous reason behind the different team names every season, but I just want to tell them to stop being stupid and just keep to one year after the next. But still, it's a fantastic looking race car all the same, though, isn't it? Gorgeous looking machine. Always is. And they've always had these fantastic cyan and magenta liveries. You know, now there's only mere highlights of that, but yeah, I like it a lot. Really do like it.
Yeah, flashing up the team names to get a little idea about the kind of differences that we've got. As you said, Charles, DXT have moved from different pairings throughout the time. They used to have Emerald, they used to have Cyan, they used to have Magenta. We've seen Luna and Solar, and now we've got the Arabic versions of Luna and Solar. I don't know who came up with that one, but one of them is leading the way. James Howarth in the same team as Mr. Sparrow at the moment, leading the way in the Pro class by 1/1000th of a second over Paul Cowlishaw. So it's really kicking off at the front of the Pro class, of course. Still 6.5 minutes to go. I'm thinking, is there another team? We haven't looked at the Axis Sim Sports Fire team. Those guys went for more of a subtle sort of grey and black style livery last season. This is a little bit more striking than that one. Looks a bit like the honey, what's it called, the honeybee or something? Off the Transformers, am I thinking about that right? I'm not a big fan of Bumblebee, that's the one. I'm not a big fan, to be honest. But I did immediately think that. And a little US flag on the front there. Is David American? Not that I remember.
No, I think that's maybe more of just a nod to the Corvette and its American ways, even though it is it's just an American Ferrari now, at the end of the day. It's not really a Corvette if it's not got a 78-litre V8 up at the front end of it, to be honest with you. I do like these cars, though, but I've always said that the Corvette, especially in GT3 spec like this, just looks like it's made of really light, flimsy plastic and that it weighs about as much as an RC car. It just never looks like a car that's really planted and glued to the road. It moves around a lot. It's very shaky and wobbly. But the right driver can make this thing go mighty quickly. So I'm intrigued to see what David can do in his class this season and whether he can play to its strengths and weaknesses. Same again with Liam Fraser as well in the Moonshiners Racing Club, and hopefully they have a bit of a laugh with it along the way, because it certainly looks nimble. I'll give it that.
It does. We've got a nice couple of little pairings around the grid in the Pro class. Fraser and Hutchison, the two Corvettes, separated by thousandths of a second. And then, of course, we've got the two McLarens, we've got two Porsches, we've got two BMWs as well, sharing the field at the moment. So some consistency for sure between these guys. And Yannis Aubert still yet to set a valid lap time. It will be his fourth lap by the time he crosses the line, and yet to put in a time. So let's see what Yannis can do. He has in the past opted to do entire seasons where he just starts from the back of the grid on purpose and then tries to do a last to first challenge. So maybe you'll fancy that tonight, but I'm sure that he won't do that for the rest of the season.
Next time I have a really rubbish qualifying, I'm just going to say that, basically. Now, I know this livery. Now, this is one that hurts my eyes as well, that we've seen for a number of seasons. Ben Bennyworth in the Quartermass Motorsport machine. Pretty sure it was Bobby Trundley that was racing this car in previous seasons. It's great to see it still here, and great as in lovely to see their attendance. It's not great to look at in my eyes, but still, I'm sure my brother wouldn't like it because he's colourblind to green, so at least I've got that on him. Still, great looking race car, still the Porsche, and Ben Bennyworth. He's a consistent driver, is Ben, I'd say. If he's got anything, he's consistent. He's always up at the sharp end of whatever class you put him in. In whatever season, whatever car, he's always at the sharp end. He really puts the hours in and he really cracks on with it. So he's one that I'm excited to see this season. He's right behind Matt Hoyland in the DXT Motorsports by ORA machine. But it's nice and close, isn't it, in this class at the moment? 1/1000th of a second between the top two in Pro.
It is. It's kicking off. And Chaz, I want to tell you something just to maybe blow your mind a little bit, because it certainly blew my mind when I heard it getting discussed over on EGT. I'm just going to...
Can't believe it's not butter.
Well, let's see. I'm just going to flash up the team names. I don't know if you can see them. For about the last 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months, it's been Quartermass Motorsports. However, we've been wrong the entire time. It's actually Quatermass. There's no R. There never has been. It's like the Mandela effect. You think it's one thing and it's not. Quatermass Motorsports, not Quartermass. Can you believe it?
Well, I imagine owning a team and getting your own team name wrong, because it is Quartermass. I'm telling them that. That's what it's going to be in my mind.
Well, we can push it. We pushed it for long enough, so we may as well continue to do so. But yeah, he's doing well at the moment, Mr. Bennyworth, in that Porsche. Of course, like I said before, wasn't really the car of choice from what I've been hearing from multiple drivers. Seems to be doing okay though in both of our classes, on the front row of each class at the moment, under the hands of Arthur Thurtle and Paul Cowlishaw. Paul still within 1/1000th of a second of James Howarth, who's in the pit lane, down and out so far. So that may be the last time that James will set, given there's only 2 minutes left to go in this session. Here comes Cowlishaw though through the first sector now, making his way through Williams down toward the hairpin at turn 4. Let's see if he improves in his sectors as he comes through them one by one. But this is the lap that Paul needs. Surely Chazzy can find 1/1000th of a second.
You'd hope so, but it's about stringing it together on a circuit like this, and it is not an easy track to get right. It is Okayama. It's a track that can catch you out in many different ways, especially in some of these heavy braking zones here. Paul now onto the brakes, into this bowl-like hairpin. You suddenly get all the grip in the world, and that gives you fantastic confidence into this next left-hander. But the grip just disappears here. You hit the apex, the car can very easily over-rotate on that crest. Then you come into a very flat left 90-degree hander here. And it is just one of those corners that seems so simple from the outside, but behind the wheel it's a nightmare. And then you've got these back-to-back hairpins. Again, it's all about managing the weight transfer here. He's very deep to the inside of this second hairpin, though. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. Final two corners, quite commitment-based as well. You've got the flick here at the right, which is not flat out in a GT3 car. They are way too quick for that. Feather the brakes, try and rotate the car through there. That looks a little bit messy, that, from Paul, to be honest. He's not improved on any other sectors so far, and the fact he's dragged it all the way over to the right, yeah, it signifies to me that he's not going to improve there. He tries to park it under the camera, and unfortunately doesn't quite work out, as Jun Gonzalez puts a better time in and improves, but doesn't go up the order. Interesting to see the Beamer being used here by Adam Watson, but then again, Adam can drive just about anything. He won a race on Tuesday night, and one of my broadcasts by a considerable margin in a series where usually it's, you know, 5 or 6 cars to the line together. He won by about 8 seconds, I think it was. Adam is fiercely fast. But at the moment, it seems like he's not got it all his own way in 7th position outright and 7th position in class.
Yeah, it's quite good at the moment to see. There's only a 10th of a second if I flash up the whole grid. There's only a 10th of a second, or just less even. Sorry, just over 10th of a second between Mr. Watson and Mr. Howarth. So the order being almost spot on for what we expect, of course, coming into this season. We've rated the drivers both by their I rating and also a little bit by what we know of them in this series, of course, because the I rating isn't always the most accurate, but at the moment it's worked absolutely perfectly. The top 7 in the elite class will start in order, and then James Howarth will head the field from the pro class, of course, but they all start the race in the same area, so there's no split like you would find in other multi-class races. And then, Charles, so there we go, 20 minutes of qualifying, plenty of action, plenty of laps, and it's Justin Eloff on pole ahead of Mr. Arthur Thurtle. Mr. Arthur Thurtle's debut, maybe not in the entirety of ESR, maybe not, but definitely he wasn't here the last couple of seasons, so good start for the Porsche driver at the moment, and Justin Eloff doing well to pip both of his former champion teammates in Obliga and O'Casey.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that from Justin. He's making the Lamborghini work. Again, it's one of those cars where it's not to everybody's taste, but with the right driver that can handle it in the right way, you can get some fantastic performances out of it. So I'm intrigued to see how long that lasts for Justin, because if it's a car that's right on the edge, is it going to be one of those seasons where he gets a win here and there and then he has a DNF otherwise? You know, is it a really sort of checkered run through the championship? Intrigued to see how he holds on. We've got 2 Mercedes, 2 Vulcan Mercedes on the second row of the grid as well. And then the 2 RDSA cars behind that as well, a McLaren and a Porsche side by side. Interesting to say that Adam Watson is bottom of the class, but at the end of the day, he is not going to be there for long, I can tell you that much. John Breitenbach saying it looks terrifying, and it really does look terrifying. The grid, as you see it there, not the most elite drivers, but flipping heck, they've gone for quality over quantity there, haven't they, Joe?
Absolutely right, and the irony of it is we don't even have some of the strongest I rating. Again, I rating is, you know, is objective and subjective in some ways, but we don't even have some of our strongest with us tonight. So it will get worse, sadly, from the perspective of Mr. Breitenbach and Mr. Yayan Stitchbury in the comment section. So sorry about that, lads. And also, Yayan, don't worry, the ORA paint will be on display very shortly. I thought I'd covered all the teams actually, but I've missed you guys out, so we'll be sure to cover that once the race gets underway. Then, so Justin Eloff will lead the track, will lead the field around the final portion of the track. He will start on pole position ahead of Arthur Thurtle on the front row. Tjek Plug and Ignas Vinchezevskis will start on row 2, teammates who won the championship last time out, starting side by side. The champion in the elite division, MP3, coming into this one. Denobliga and Lucchese will be glad that they've got those drivers just in front of them and not too far ahead, because they've got some competition to try and overdo them this time round. Denobliga and Lucchese in 5th and 6th. The final elite driver, Adam Watson, will start alongside the pole man in the pro class, James Howarth, ahead of Paul Cowlishaw. Gerald Faree in the top 10. Matt Hoyland, Ben Bennyworth, Jakob Krafek and Liam Fraser will be on row 7 ahead of Danny Phillips and David Hutchison. Adam Wilson-Weir ahead of Aidan Millwood and Joe Sparrow, of course, back this time in A division, in A split, sorry, for the first time. Christopher Starsmore gets his promotion as well into the top class. Jakob Krafek, Fraser Phillips, and been over those already. Dan Cross, Yanis Aubert, Lewis Hunter, and Yun Gonzalez, the 79 Puerto Rican, down there at the back of the field. And Chaz, I'll leave it to you to get our season underway.
Thank you very much, Joe. Welcome everybody to Season 9 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. It's a long time since we've been to Okayama. It's not a long time since we've been racing, and immediately we get it underway. Over to the right-hand side goes the McLaren of Tristan Dinnebrega, leaves the two Vulcan Mercedes to make contact in the middle. Reigning champion into the side of his teammate. Wyszynski's off in the gravel already, and boy, oh boy, is that a way to start your championship defence. Contact at turn 1 between two teammates. There's Dazzle Camo on the 23 Mercedes of Matt Hoyland. Would you expect any less? Side by side with reigning champion Serge Plurk and, of course, Adam Watson, who wants to make his mark on this championship as he does on so many others as well. Definitely one to fear. Luke Lucchese is watching the back of that BM. No, he's not. He's watching the back of his own car. He's around already. This tyre model catching people out instantly here, Joe.
Yeah, Wyszynski's had a terrible start of the season last time, and it looks like it's happened again for him, right down toward the back of the order. Luke Lucchese only just now getting that car back in shape. Obriga, however, is up 2 places off the start and mounting a challenge here. That's just an Elof mounting a challenge up the inside. Obriga did get a great start off the line, though, and finds himself in P3 ahead of Adam Watson. And that's it. Elof back into the lead of the race. Momentarily lost, momentarily gained. And up the inside goes Obriga, and he's going to have the favoured line, but not for long if he can hold it. Yes, he has. The Porsche will return the favour on the inside line. Probably bush out the McLaren and hold on to that position. Just Elof clear at the start for the most time. Have I missed something? There's someone else round as they go. Yep, there they are. Off the side of the road. That's Tjek Plurg. And not sure who else that is.
Adam Watson. Adam Watson.
Wow.
He was down the inside on the right-hand side of Tristan Dinnebrega. And Tristan, as he came back on, I don't think Adam left enough room over on the left-hand side. So Adam got shoulder barged by him and couldn't quite get it back under wraps into the penultimate corner. There's a big send down the inside by David Hutchison there, and I think he's hit the side of the Porsche. There's McLarens moving around and all sorts. I think we've got slightly different camera angles here, sorry, Joe. So maybe I'm seeing things and you're not, or vice versa. You'll see something in the background that I don't see. But yeah, wow, that was busy stuff. I was just about to say as well, as Adam sends it up the inside of the Lamborghini, hits James Howarth. Oh, if there was one thing that I could say about Adam, it's been that he's turned things around so well in the recent times. He was known for being a little bit too sendy, a little bit too boisterous quite often in other leagues, and he seemed to have turned that around. But in this opening lap, well, he's maybe driving with a little bit of red mist right now, which is understandable after that contact. But yeah, not the best image with that send down the inside there. But it's one of those things. We'd have to look back, see whether the Lamborghini on the outside moved across or whatever. But yeah, this is busy stuff already.
It is. I think they've forgotten that it's only pre-season, lads. No points on offer. Let's just simmer down a little bit. But hey, I mean, I guess once the green flag drops, you kind of forget all that, don't you? You just drive the way that you can then. So Tjek Plurg trying to get back up to where he was. He's down 6 places from the start. Looks like there's been more drama potentially here. A few changes of positions a little bit further down the order then. Luke Lucchese down 15. Wyszynski's down 11. And Tjek Plurg down 6. So 3 of the notable drivers from last season who we highlighted on the way to the start-finish line already all the way down the order. Up the inside goes one of them. That's Wyszynski. He's gaining 1 more place past Joe Sparrow, but he's coming back at him. 2 Mercedes going side by side. The damage on the front left of Wyszynski's Mercedes makes it look like a normal different car, but he gets that move done in the end. Sparrow not best pleased with that one, but I think Joe has to accept the fact that he's got one of the fastest drivers in the league trying to get on with his race.
Yeah, I don't know why Joe's flashing his lights there, really. I think it's maybe just for pure distraction more than anything else. But yeah, Wyszynski wanting to gain as much ground as he can now after that poor start, and obviously the contact with his teammate. Just before the dramas for Adam Watson, I was going to say, you know, out of all the leagues I've commentated on and all the leagues I've worked on and with, to see RDSA go up against Altitude 3 M Esports, 2 of the most fearsome teams I've ever had the joy of commentating on. It's absolutely delightful. What a feast of sim racing we're going to have between those 2 teams in particular this season. But we've got the likes of DXT out there as well, hoping to do big things in the pro class. Matt Hoyland in this Dazzle Camo-esque Mercedes, trying to chase down Paul Cowlishaw. That'll be for the lead of their class as well. It's like a lovely art car, isn't it? The number 23 Mercedes. Admittedly, at my end, it's still got a decal layer on it from a different championship that Matt raced this car in, which is quite funny to see. It's got a lot of different sponsors and stuff all over it that they're definitely nothing to do with now. But great-looking cars from both of them, and they now have to think about how they go about this fight with Adam Watson sat right behind them, because Adam, he's going to be a bit of a spoiler in the pack. He's definitely quicker than these guys on paper. It's just a case of how cautiously he makes his way through this pairing, let's say.
So here it is then, Matt Hoyland, who of course won the final race of last season. He wasn't going to race, Charles. He messaged me before saying, can't be bothered. Then he saw the stream, he thought, you know what, I'm going to jump in the sim. He had a torrid season, and then he ended up winning the race, defending the lead in the final race of the season, converted it across the line. However, I'm curious if Mr. Stitchbury in chat can help us figure out how you have gone from, I mean, I do like the livery, I must say, but you've gone from a very clean, you know, purpley dark, you know, lovely little ORA livery, and then this has just been spat out. So first of all, I mean, it's a great effort, I must say, because it's very, very complicated to make something that looks like that, but why? You know?
Yeah, I know.
What's changed?
It might be like, is it a tribute art car or something? Because as Yayan mentioned earlier on, the Corvette we were looking at is a nod to the TF Sport livery from the World Endurance Championship. So I don't know if this is an art car of someone else's with DXT little sprinklings on it or not, but maybe the artwork up close is a lot of different things that they've done and combined together. I'm not sure. Still, interesting looking bit of kit. And he's not going to be worried about his own livery at the moment, as he's got Adam Watson right up behind him in the god-awful looking BMW. Livery's fantastic, but let's face it, that is only the face a mother could love on the front of that M4. It's even worse on the GT4 car. And he has got a right wobble on, yeah. And that's the thing with the BM, though. It's another one of those cars where it's fast when it's not crashing. And that just looks like a load of different motorsport logos all over that car, doesn't it?
Does then. So Hoyland momentarily gaining on Caldershaw, then he dropped back slightly, but now it looks like this pack here chasing them down. Of course, Watson in the elite division, so he is not in these guys' race, but Hoyland not giving Caldershaw any breathing room whatsoever. And I'm trying to recall, James Howarth was the man who started on pole position in the pro class. He's down in P20, so again, not a good start for some of our leaders then. Justin Eloff doing well to hold off Arthur Thurtle at the front. Likewise for Denobliga, and then again for Caldershaw, about 1.6, 1.7 seconds between each of our top four drivers. And then it's a nice little pack that we're riding on board with in behind now. Only 8 minutes have gone here, and we've got an hour of racing to come tonight. Of course, remember, it's the top 15 that will be reversed in this one. Not too much has changed regulation-wise from last season. The instant limits have changed. That's the one big thing. I think we've upped the disqualification. I have to actually recall, it's 14 and 18 now. 14 for a drive-through, 18 for a disqualification. I think it might have been 17 and 20 or 17 and 22 last time, so that's about the only thing that's changed along with qualifying. Luke Lucchese is off at the final corner alongside Dan Cross, and I wonder if they've had a coming together, Charles. Let's go back and take a look at what happened there.
Yeah, hopefully no major contact, but it certainly looks like that's going to be what happens as... Luke actually loses it. Clips the back end of the BM. Wow. So Luke having a real nightmare with the car. There is a bit of contact on the way in, but that's not enough to unsettle him.
He just loses
back
it.
end's already gone, yeah. And it's just that tiny kiss.
That's so unfortunate for Dan as well there in the BMW, because he was a passenger, and it was the slightest of touch that sent him off into the barrier. And once you lose it like that, it's really, well, almost impossible to scoop it back up. So would you put... I mean, I don't know. Maybe Luke's committing to this Porsche because it's the car that he's always driven. But I must say I was surprised that he hasn't made a change, because I think a lot of these guys have moved away from the Porsche. I'd arguably put some money on him turning up in a different machine for the first round next week, which you're allowed to do. No issue doing that before the season starts. After that, though, I believe you can only make one change with a 50 championship point deduction. Something tells me Lucchese might make that change, because it doesn't look like so far he's having the best of times out there with this Porsche.
No, definitely not. I think it's a case of sticking to what you know and getting used to the development from the tyres, as that is a 3M Porsche of Arthur Thurtle with no rear wing on it. Arthur was right up at the sharp end of the order, and he has no rear wing on his Porsche all of a sudden, and he too struggling with this machine by the look of it. Let's see, is he going to clip the grass? Yeah, he is. He's clipped it and it's already gone, and it's not going to slow down once it goes backwards into the
Oh,
tyre barrier.
bonk.
Rear wing pops off, and that's not what you want with the Porsche, because at the end of the day, the engine is far back, as you might say. And, well, he is going to be really annoyed at himself for that, but it's just pre-season, no points on the table. This is the time to find the limit and try and overstep it. You know, just try and push it and push it and push it. And then you know what you can do in the race to push things, as Paul Cowlishaw's had a bit of a blink in and out. Matt Hoyland side by side here with Adam Watson in the Beamer. It's taken Adam a while to get past him. Just shows you the pace, though, of Matt Hoyland and how little pace difference there is on paper between the Elite and the Pro class. That's great to see, though, isn't it? Because it means that there's no definite divide between the two this season. We're going to have a good scrap between both classes, I think, when drivers choose not to pick their battles, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. And that's half the battle, isn't it? I mean, some guys, you can never really know what you're going to get until you get used to these drivers, of course. Some guys will like to battle whichever car is in front or behind them, regardless of who it is. Others will think, well, you know, fighting a guy outside of my class is not going to go anywhere in optimising my race. So Hoyland, I think, would fancy a little bit of a scrap against Adam, especially in a pre-season race. But Adam's got through now, and I'm thinking that clean air ahead might just be enough to let him catch up with Paul Cowlishaw. Paul will be pretty pleased at the moment, actually. A driver who's been with us for quite some time. Don't recall the last time he got himself up onto the podium, especially not in the top split with us here in Split A, but he'll be happy. He's got sights on Denobreger ahead. He's got a nice cluster of cars who are bound to battle before they arrive to him. So at the moment, he's in a nice little window, slowly approaching the halfway point as well. And don't forget that reverse 15, P15 in the class. So Aidan Millwall, as it stands, will be the man on pole position. However, James Howarth had the pace in qualifying. Does he have the pace in the long run? There he goes. He's now in the prime position for pole position, but it's being fought back up the inside by the McLaren. Force wide is the Lamborghini, and that will invite another Porsche into the mix around the outside. Holds James Howarth. Then it's going to be 3 wide for a moment here if the Porsche decides to go up the inside. Yes, he does, but cleanly around the outside. James Howarth makes that one stick up now into P15. Let's see if he can hold on to that one while the cars behind continue to battle.
And Wilson Weir really trying to take advantage of this fight in front of him here. He went down the inside. Aidan Millward backed out of it a little bit and said no thank you. He's headed to the pit lane though and making his way in now. Interesting indeed, but I suppose he thinks maybe I need to get out of that fight and not have anything to do with it. But yeah, that is unfortunate for Aidan to not be able to fight that one out on the circuit. At the end of the day, with it being pre-season, you want to fight everything you can. Here's the Double H Racing machine. Quite a tidy, clean livery on that car, isn't it? Big fan of that. It's what we'd call a realistic livery. You know, in sim racing, we have the benefit of being able to put whatever livery you want on the car with no logistical benefits or, you know, no logistical holdbacks, as seen with Matt Hoyland's machine. Do what you want. But with this, you know, it's realistic. You'd see the car look like this in real life. It's a very clean design. It wouldn't take much rewrapping if there was an incident, stuff like that. I really do like this. I like it a lot. And, you know, the odd logo here and there wouldn't go amiss, but I like how distinct it is. You know, you've got a very clear idea of what team it is on the door. And it's similar to the car behind, actually. There's a little bit of, you know, fancy stuff going on Jakub Krafek's Porsche, but it's still a realistic-looking machine. It's actually got the Most Autodrome logo on it, which is a racing circuit in Czechia, or Czech Republic, as people used to call it. And it is a fantastically difficult racing track that not many people know about. The Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship is actually going there in August, and we go there every year, and it is a fantastic racetrack. 22 corners. It's really narrow, it's really windy, and if you've never seen any racing from Most Autodrome before, I implore you to go and watch some of it, because no matter what race is around there, it's really good fun.
And we can probably find you there at some point, can we, Jazz?
I'm not going to be there in person. I never have been, unfortunately, but yeah, when we're going there in August with trucks, I'll be commentating from home in my pants. So I'll be nice and comfortable.
Oh, that's fast by Luke. Luke Lucchese yesterday's.
Luke Lucchese's pants won't be comfortable, will they, right now? Flipping heck, he had a right one.
Not. He did. He's managed to keep it in control, though. Adam Watson has just got himself up past Paul Cowlishaw, but Cowlishaw and the invisible car has taken out Adam Watson. I hate to say it, Chaz, but you can kind of see that one coming as Ben Bennyworth splits the difference between the pair of them there. manages to avoid a rejoining BMW that looks like it's got some significant suspension damage there. Bit of a handful to get that one turned in. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get another undue spin by the time he gets to the pit lane, because he's got a pretty chucky left-hander coming up now.
I'm not... Oh, hello. That was Wyszynski throwing it up the inside with seemingly no reason, but I don't know if, again, unfortunately for Adam, whether that was him not leaving enough room for the Porsche, to be honest with you. I think he got round him, but then on the exit just... I don't know if it was the bowl effect of that hairpin or what, but it just seemed like he dragged himself in. There was obviously contact when the Porsche was invisible, but I don't think he's left enough room there on the exit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, if the car's invisible, it's really hard to judge that, obviously, but yeah, he does somewhat come back over to the right-hand side. Initially, in the entry in the mid-corner, it was looking pretty good. In the end, though, he spun him round, and yeah, Ignis really getting the elbows out there, not really giving him much space, gets himself through, muscles his way through more like, and that's Wyszynski's now past the fellow elite driver into P9, and then it's Danny Phillips in that McLaren, the LKQ McLaren, in behind, putting pressure on the 129 machine at the moment. What I was going to say before, Chaz, which I wanted to mention at some point, it's a shame that Mr. Cowlishaw, here he comes, coming out the pit lane, perfect timing. So, a little bit of a quiz question for you here, Chaz, if you'll entertain me. Mr. Cowlishaw is one of how many drivers that are still involved in ASR that was here in this promo race, the first race that we ever hosted 2 years ago? Could you just throw a number out there? It's not that many, but I think it's quite impressive to see, particularly with Paul here, the only driver in this split to have been here on track 2 years ago, who's here again tonight. And I wondered if you could pick out a number that might have also joined him 2 years ago.
I think this is a trick question. I think he is the only one.
Ooh,
with no disrespect to the community, because it is a very committed community, a very loyal community. I think it's a trick question. I think it's one, and it was only him.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm just going to give you them. Thiago Reiser still with us. Sean Clark, Gareth Newton, Robin Aston, Scott Kostrick, Wesley Van Ren, all here signed up for GT3 this season. Beautiful. We're all here in the promo race, and then the likes of, well, myself was here, Bostock was of course here, Sarika Desler, James Pallow, Zelinskas, Harper and Saunders were all here in the first season. So 16 drivers, which were here 2 years ago, are still signed up to some of our other leagues, and 7 of them have signed up for Season 9, which I think is cracking. And while Cole is struggling to keep that Porsche on the road, I'm sure if he watches this back, he'll be satisfied to know that he's the only one here tonight who is racing, who was here 2 years ago.
Wow. Fair play. Fair play. You know what? I thought that, to be honest, it would have been 8. That would have been my guess. Much as Mac Watkins has said in the chat as well. I would have thought 8. But a fantastic committed community here at ESR, and it's great to see that these guys have been around for so long in that, you know. And it's, I mean, to be fair, 9 seasons in just a couple of years is some good going. I mean, you mentioned earlier that, you know, last season only ended a fortnight ago. It's a crazy quick turnaround, but at the end of the day, the drivers just want to keep on racing and keep on racing. You know, the fact that it moves over to a different season and they have new points to score time after time is just part and parcel.
Absolutely right then. Sadly, there's been an incident for Mr. Wilson Weir on debut in that Porsche. Is it going to be a self-spin? Yes, he is. He's just trying to put the power down toward the penultimate corner a little bit too early, but he will be able to get that one round without too much damage. Just damage to the talent rather than to his car. And Adam Watson has dropped back down the order as well, has he not? He was right up the sharp end of the stick earlier with Hoyland and Cowlishaw, and now he is also round and back down, of course, after the contact with Paul Cowlishaw that we saw a little bit earlier on then. So final 10 minutes to go. We've currently got Luke Lucchesi. Look at that, Charles. Luke Lucchesi in P15 on pole position. That's what you need to try and recover your race. A little bit of a blink on by Lucchesi there. He won't stop there, I'm sure. He'll be trying to get Joe Sparrow, but then after that, is he going to be able to overcome the 3.5 seconds to James Howarth? We'll have to wait and see, but that will recover Luke Lucchesi's night nicely if he can get himself back on pole for race 2. Defensive Joe Sparrow there.
They don't need to yeah, they don't need to worry about championship points or anything here. They can just play the night as it goes and just think, yeah, I could sit in 15th place and get pole position for race 2. Why not? We'll have a little bit of a ding-dong for it. Luke Lucchese now moves up into 14th place outright. Joe Shapara finds himself 15th, and now he's going to be thinking, yeah, what about Jakub Krafek behind me? Is he going to be in the mix for this? I don't know, but Luke, I'm sure, will be, well, I was going to say enjoying pushing the Porsche to its limit for the rest of this to try and catch up with the elite drivers once again, but I'm not sure he's going to be particularly enjoying himself, maybe a bit frustrated after those 2 little spins that he's had throughout this race and the bits of contact.
Yeah, well, you're right, and looking at this, Luke Lucchese's last lap time, 28.8, Jakub Krafek at 28.8 dead, so about half a tenth quicker for Krafek on that last lap, so he is still within a shout, of course. It might only be a matter of time before he gets himself past Shapara, whose last lap was best part of 2 seconds slower than the drivers in front and behind him, so that Mercedes might be at the mercy of the 2 Porsches over the next 9.5 minutes, and I'm sure we'll see Shapara going defensive once or twice more on this before the checkered flag falls, and it is getting a little bit spicy here between Liam Fraser, Ignas Vincentzskis and Adam Watson, these 2 in the elite class. I wouldn't like to be in Liam Fraser's shoes at the moment, just getting out the way of these elite drivers coming through, 2 drivers who have not been afraid to get the elbows out and muscle their way through other cars on occasion during this opening race tonight.
Yeah, there's been a few people getting the elbows out, and I think when we saw the battle between Adam Watson and Vincentzski before, I think that was a case of Vincentzski wanting to prove a point to Adam, knowing how potent he is, and Adam wanting to prove the point that he's not just going to roll over for anybody. And I think it was a clash of, let's call it self-confidence, and the 2 ended up making unnecessary contact. One wanting to aggressively attack, one wanting to aggressively defend, just to send the message early before there's championship points on the table here. And I think that's a sort of important thing for these guys to take away from pre-season testing, is that they will have the chance here to say to other drivers, look, I'm not mucking about here, mate. Like, you know, there's no messing. I'm just going to get on with what I'm doing. And you get to send a message here and there to them to say, look, this is what you can expect from me in the, let's call it the real season. You know what I mean? There's, oh, hello. Big old send down the inside there by Vincentzski. Corvette says no thank you. Liam Fraser really not rolling over for that one. And again, this is what Vincentzski can expect throughout the season. You know, he's had it last season as well, but he's not just being let through by everybody, is he? He's having to really fight for this.
Well, yeah, I feel a bit sorry for him. Of course, made his debut last season, did not have the start that he would have wanted. Every single race almost in the first 6 or 7 weeks, he qualified so strongly, and then the race went wrong for him, whether it was incidents on his own, incidents out of his control. It just seemed to always go against him, and then he managed to find a little bit of form alongside his teammate, of course, Tech Plurg, who was the eventual elite champion. And then, as we said earlier, in the final round a fortnight ago, this team, the Vulcan Motorsports Gold team as it were then, were able to overcome RDSA and win that championship. So I think that kind of bears into what you were saying a little bit there, Chaz. Vincentzski's has come into this race, come into this season knowing, well, my teammate's the driver's champion, our team are the champions, and so, you know, they've got to stake their sort of, not authority, but, you know, they'll be feeling some of that to say, well, come on, come and beat us. And if you want to beat us, it's not going to be easy. And he's got to sort of lay that mark down to know, as you said, that it's not going to be easy to get by.
Definitely. He's at the end of the day got to just stick to what he knows, and all you can do in a championship like this is push, push, push all the time. Just put your best efforts in constantly and not let anybody slow you down. And these guys at the end of the day are in competition with one another. It is competitive racing, no matter how you look at it. You know, even on a more fun and laid-back level, as the community is often reminded in ESR, it's still all for fun, but there's competition there, and there's pride on the line as well. You know, there's bragging rights for a lot of these drivers. So intrigued to see how that develops between some of these guys as the season goes on. Just over 6 minutes now left to go, and we look here at Gerald Fourie, currently in second place in the Pro class, chasing down Mercedes driver Matt Hoyland after Paul Cowlishaw had his contact with Adam Watson earlier. Could be on for a potential BMW taking a class win here. It's been a while since I've said that.
Yeah, well, Matt Hoyland will be hoping to, as we said, start his campaign as he ended the last one, which will give him all of the confidence that he needs in the world, of course. He made quite a few car changes last season. I don't remember what his middle car was, but he started in the Audi, and then did he change to the McLaren, and then ended up in the Mercedes, and now I think he's happy to stick with it. He's got Gerald Furry in behind him, the debutant here, the South African driver looking to get his first victory in his debut race. So it's a bit of a stalwart versus the debutant here in the final 5 minutes. Again, nothing to play for except pride, and I'm sure Hoyland will not want to easily give up that one. And speaking of timings, Charles, it's a bit odd to see the gaps in the elite class as well. 6 seconds, nearly 12 seconds, and then a further 6 and 8 seconds separating all of those drivers. You'd thought there might have been a little bit more competition, particularly, Wyszynski's and Lucchesi have had their incidents early on. Arthur Thurtle has dropped down the order as well, because he was chasing Justin Eloff at some point. See if I can figure out what's happened there. But yes, it's a small field. Yes, there's only 7 of them out on the circuit at the moment, but big gaps that I wouldn't have expected in such a short race.
I think they've just been too busy throwing themselves off the circuit, to be honest, to have a battle even with each other. But yeah, it's a shame to see that. But I suppose with the promise of the reverse grid later on, and some of these drivers being sprinkled amongst it, with the pro drivers all around them, should be interesting to see how they battle through and who displays patience, who doesn't, and how that all works out in the end, and what sort of running order we get at the end of the night, because that's one of the best things about this championship is the format of the 2 half-hour races in reverse grids in GT3 cars. It's lovely to see that we have so many potential overtakes and battles to keep an eye on, as we saw the moment there for Arthur Thurtle going past the... Oh, hello. Oh, see...
It was almost like it was written.
It was, I'm sorry, but it was. After what we saw earlier, in particular, with Wyszynski, we know from last season that he's quite an aggressive driver. We know that Adam's quite an aggressive driver. I don't want to get too harsh before the season even begins, but from when you've seen the drivers before, that just comes across as the unstoppable force and the immovable object, and just 2 egos that don't want to let each other go. There's a bit of moving, and to be fair, I mean...
unnecessary movement there, really.
Yeah, and one of my biggest pet hates, as people know, is when you move down a straight. You don't need to. There's no benefit to squeeze anybody over to one side of the track. Wyszynski goes left, then goes right. I don't think Adam particularly does anything wrong there. It's not often I defend Adam, just ask him. But I don't see the point in that. That's frustrating to see. I get there's a kink on the circuit, and you would go left a bit, but I don't know why Wyszynski wants to go right.
Yeah, I would guess maybe he's misjudged it and maybe tried to jink to get the inside line and make a little bit of a lunge, but he's got it all wrong. I think it's safe to say. He barely even made it across the rear end of the car. He hasn't clipped the right-hand side, has he? He's clipped the left-hand side immediately. So that was very, very poorly judged by the Lithuanian. Again, we've said he's so competitive. He just makes these errors, sometimes his fault, sometimes not, like I said 5 minutes ago. But sadly there, it's another one, and it's a little bit inexcusable, like you said. On a straight line, should be able to keep that one. Anyway, we won't get bogged down by that. It is pre-season, but it's never nice to see. And sadly, that's Wyszynski's out of the race. Adam Watson continues on, trying to get himself past Christopher Starsmore. Good news for Watson is that he is inside the top 15 still, currently in P13. So as it stands, Arthur Thurtle will start on pole position ahead of Adam Jakub Krafik and then Watson. So we can still have a very competitive race too, if he can hold on to it for what will be just one more full lap of the circuit, I believe. Luke Lucchesi is trying to go around the outside of Danny Phillips, the pro driver. And Danny will defend that one still. He's going to be on the inside line. Lucchesi will have to be very, very competitive. Oh, there we go. Nice and easily done by the Porsche. Gets that one tucked in nicely up into the top 10. Lucchesi will be satisfied with that one. And something I've not seen, something I've just noticed, Lucchesi 00 on his car. I don't know if that's right, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone with 00. For a race number.
I think I've seen it in the past somewhere, and basically I ruled with an iron fist that I didn't like it, so I told them to change it. But I think it can often be... I mean, you only ever get the number 0 in the old Formula 1 format when it was a championship-winning team that had an outgoing champion. I think it only ever happened once when Alan Prost won the championship and then left Williams, so that left... I believe it was Damon Hill with the number 0 on the car the following year. And that's the only time that it ever really gets used as sort of an inheritance. So I don't know if it's just a hint at changing his number and not, I don't know, like a clean slate sort of thing. We'll have to, we'll have to
that's
see.
a great little nugget of knowledge there, Chaz. I've never heard that in my life. You've pulled that one out of the bag.
I'm passionate about Formula One numbers. I don't get me wrong. Part of me likes the fact that the drivers have their own brands these days and can choose their own numbers, like MotoGP riders have been able to for years. But I love the old format of knowing roughly where a driver would be on the track based on their number, because it's based on where their team finished the previous year. And even, in something as high-tech as Formula One, for so many years, even though the teams were numbered, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and so on, when you got to 13, the teams suddenly became 14 and 15, 16 and 17. They skipped the number 13. So even in something where you're as, self-believing in your car, they didn't want to put the number 13 on the thing because they thought it was bad luck. I could go on for hours about that, but Justin Eloff, well, he could go on for hours at this pace by the look of it. It may say 992 on the side of the car. Definitely isn't one.
No, he's not. He's nearly 8 seconds clear of the rest of the field. So it's a very, very dominant start. And I must say, in that Lamborghini, I haven't tried it yet. I haven't driven it much. But the sort of rumour in my server between my drivers is that it wasn't a very strong car. Justin Eloff is putting that one to bed, isn't he? Because he's driven it very, very well from the start of the race. Plopped it on pole. Momentarily lost it, but gained it back within a very short amount of time, and then since then he's absolutely stormed away from it, and he will start his campaign out in the best way possible. Sadly for him though, no points on offer. Let's see if he can continue that one next week as we get underway for the season, but it will be a P1 finish for Justin Eloff here as he takes the checkered flag in the opening round of the GT3 Season 9 Championship, and he will finish ahead of his teammate Tristan Dobliger. It's a 1-2 for RDSA, the Lambo, and then the McLaren, and last season's champion Tjek Plug will bring that Mercedes home to round out the podium in what was quite a distant, quite a big gap there between the top three. Matt Hoyland will bring home a race victory to get a cracking start to his season as well, underway in the Pro Class. Gerald Furry on debut will also bring home a podium, and Ben Bennyworth for Quatermass, the number 96, does what he needs to do and gets the position inside the top three.
We'll never hear the end of that from Hoyland. But yeah, Ben doing a wonderful job to get that initial podium, as we see Adam Wilson-Weir, funnily enough, hunting down Lewis Hunter in the BMW across the line. 16th and 17th for those guys. Importantly, Arthur Thurtle and Adam Watson will be the front row of the grid for race 2. That's the 2 Altitude 3M Esports cars. So they have all chance to disappear down the road and over the horizon. Here's one of the NSXs, a car that we saw many of last season. Not so many of them this time round. In fact, this is the only one in the field, driven by Jun Gonzalez. 4 DNFs, though. Aidan Millward, Joe Shapara, Ignace Vintajewski, and Yanis Albert. Yanis, I believe, sat in the pits for the whole race, though. So maybe he was just chilling.
He completed 5 laps, and then... yeah, he completed 5 laps, and then got himself in to end that one. And I believe, just from memory there, the 2 on the front row of the grid dropped 7 and 15 places in that race. So they're definitely going to be quicker if they can get ahead into clean air at the start of the next one. So while the drivers head around for a little warm-up, we'll have a quick recap of what is a very reduced, of course, very reduced race results, but nonetheless, we'll go through them first, and we'll start, as always, with the Elite Division. So this will be very quick. Justin Eloff getting his campaign off to a flying start. He didn't have the best time of it last season, of course, did well in the team's championship, but the majority of the points scored by Denobliga and Lucchesi. On this occasion, it's a 1-2, led by Eloff, and then Tristan Denobliga in behind Lambo, followed by the McLaren. Champion from last season, Tjek Plug, gets himself on the podium in the Mercedes. Last season was out in the Corvette. He's made the change over to the Merc. Luke Lucchesi sticks to his guns and stays with that Porsche. I don't think, Chaz, he's ever actually driven a championship outside of that Porsche in ESR. It's been a long, long time for him in that machine. He's in 4th for RDSA. 3 of them inside the top 4. The Altitude 3M Esports drivers finishing 5th and 6th. They all start on the front row side by side. Adam Watson and Adam Thurtle. Then it's Ignace Vintajewski, who's had a pretty dramatic start to his season, of course. Needs to iron out a few of those bumps and bruises before we get underway next week. But I guess that's kind of like what this race is all about. Then Yanis Albert, the Penguin Racing Endeavours driver, 17 laps from the finish. Didn't really qualify, didn't really get going in the race, the number 19. And Yanis will start right toward the back of the order in our second race tonight.
not much of an endeavour. And as I said to my girlfriend last night when I was painting Warhammer models instead of coming to bed, this will take a while. Matt Hoyland is the driver that takes the victory in the Pro class in the 23 Mercedes, with the BMW, Porsche, Corvette and Lamborghini completing the top 5. Gerald Ferree, Ben Bennyworth, David Hutchison and James Howarth in the top 5 there in each of the different cars. Liam Fraser is the next one in another Corvette, the Moonshiners machine, in 6th place. Danny Phillips ends that one in 7th, with Christopher Starsmore, fantastic name, real racing driver name out of an American film really, is in the Ferrari in 8th place. Jakub Krafek was the driver in 9th position ahead of Lewis Hunter, the Double H Racing machine, getting a top 10 in class. Adam Wilson-Weir was ahead of Dan Cross, with Paul Cowlishaw and Yun Gonzalez completing the finishing drivers. The drivers that were a lap down or more were Aidan Millward and Joe Sparrow, both hoping for much better results in the second race of the night.
Absolutely right then. So we only have 2 drivers out on the circuit at the moment. Young Gonzalez, the Puerto Rican, fancies getting a few more laps under his belt, but sadly for him, he won't be able to get the tyres up to temperature before the session comes to an end. And then Liam Fraser in that Corvette, the Moonshiners Racing Club, I believe their 3rd season here with us at ESR. They may have even taken part in the GT4 Championship about 6 or 8 months ago, and now they're here in the top split. Liam back with us then. So I appreciate everybody for being with us in the chat, of course. It's good to get some good numbers out for pre-season, of course. Ironically, we've got more people watching than we have on the track, which I think is the first time that I've been able to say that. So big thanks to everyone that is showing their support, of course. And don't forget, we have Split B going on as well with Mr. Paul Walsh, also on the Evolution Sim Racing YouTube channel. So be sure to show him some love as well before the night is out. And Mr. Watkins is asking, will we be joining them for some sim coach sessions? Well, let me tell you, I've actually got a new set of brake pedals on the way to my house, courtesy of Mr. Matt Hoyland, who has quite happily sold me his surplus pair, which will be the first upgrade I've made. So potentially, mate, now is a good time for me to not only get a much improved brake pedal, but also maybe try and take it to the next level. Get some coaching. And Chaz, you could do with that too, right?
No. Obviously not. No, Joe, there's a reason I'm a commentator, and it's because I'm an awful driver that is beyond hope. Like, no sim coach session could save me, but no, I do, you know, I value coaching and know how important it can be. You and I have both seen many drivers along their way in their development in sim racing leagues get better and better through coaching like that, and Sim Coach offers some fantastic things as well. So it's great to see that as a community the ESR guys can enjoy that, and I obviously hope it helps everyone out. But no, I don't do any serious racing at the moment at all. The rig has remained motionless in the corner of the room for quite a while now.
Just some Euro trucking from time to time.
Well, even when I do that, I've got a second wheel that I just bolt onto my desk, to be honest, and race like a real casual. Yeah, it's, to be fair, it's from my PlayStation. I got we had a thing with Thrustmaster a few years ago for GT Planet, and we got sent these wheels, and it's been great for that. But yeah, it's either on Gran Turismo or nothing at the moment. So hopefully I'll get the rig out and do some iRacing. As a lot of my leagues have wound down, I've stopped running some of them and broadcasting certain things. So we'll see. I'll maybe be there at some point.
Yeah, well, of course, as I mentioned right at the start of the broadcast, we're handing the duties back over to Chaz, who will be paired up alongside Mr. Dara Thacker for the first time for the rest of this season. So I'll be covering next week, round 1. Then I'm away and out of the country for 3 weeks. And then when I come back, you'll be able to, watch my terrible, terrible driving that I haven't done in quite some time. You'll be able to mock me instead, mate. So I'm looking forward to being back in the seat. I haven't driven properly in a GT3 championship since season 5, or even season 5. So it's been quite some time for me as well. Looking forward to joining these guys out on the track, and it'll of course be weird to know, having commentated on these guys for the best part of the last year, maybe 6 months in this particular series in Split A, it'll be weird to be amongst it on the track this time.
Yeah, it's really cool that because of sim racing and how it works like this, we get to see both sides of the coin as well from our perspective. It's really, really exciting to have that. And as well, as a broadcaster, I mean, you know it yourself, when you're on circuit, you picture what the broadcast might be doing at the time and who they might be looking at, and they hope that, you know, they caught the maneuver that you just did, or they didn't see the little spin that you had, you know, things like that. It's so cool to go from broadcasting to the circuit and then back again. But it's nice to know that we've planned our individual trips. I mean, nobody asked, but I'm going to the United States next week, which is why I'm not doing the first round of the championship. But thankfully, Joe is on hand before his lovely trip of 3 weeks. You going anywhere nice, love?
Well, I'm just doing a mini little European tour.
Oh,
See, you did ask, so I'm going to tell.
Yeah,
I'm away
go
with my
ahead.
girlfriend. She's Lithuanian, so we're heading back to Lithuania for a couple of weeks, and then on the way we'll stop off in a few little places. So it'll be nice to
Phenomenal.
do a little bit of travelling in the summer, of course. Lovely weather over there, and
Yeah.
looking forward to getting away. So that'll be good. And
banging.
then in the back of my mind, though, I'll be having a round 5 ESR GT3 in my head the whole time, and I'll be raring to go when I come home.
He'll be
Raring to
ready.
go,
He'll be ready.
like Arthur Thurtle is, as he leads his teammate around the penultimate corner. Let's see how the pair of them get on with it. You'd like to think that Mr. Watson would be a little bit more cautious with his teammate on his right-hand side than what he was in the opening race, but we'll soon see. It could be fireworks between the pair of them as we head into turn 1 then. Thurtle leads Watson, leading Phillips, Starsmore and Fraser, 3 pro-class drivers inside the top 5, and keep your eyes out for that white Porsche of Luke Lucchese in the background. Already 3 or 4 cars there jinking to the right-hand side to try and get a good line. Then around the outside goes the BMW. Adam Watson
ugly.
takes the lead of the race, and that is a huge pile-up into turn 1. The track has been blocked.
Justin Eloff, I'm sorry, but Justin Eloff, I don't know if he got caught out on the brakes or what, but he launched it up the inside and took a BMW with him before they even got onto the brakes. So there was multiple cars involved. Luke Lucchese already jumped back to the pits. Jakob Krafek didn't take the start. Tristan Dinnebrega as well is in there after finishing second in the first race. He's right down there. Oh, there was a car off big time there. I think that was Vincichevsky involved. Vincichevsky losing ground in the Mercedes, but no, there was a massive shunt. That is, oh wow, that was Danny Phillips in the McLaren, and into him has
that
gone
McLaren,
the
that
Mercedes.
Look at it.
Yeah,
Who was it? Joe. Was that Joe in the Mercedes?
Joe Sparrow, yeah.
Look at that. That is
Goodness
gone.
me.
That is gone. Well then, that is a lot to unpack, and I'm looking forward to doing it. So let's just wait until things settle down a little bit.
That was the most Geordie you've ever sounded, Joe. Christ alive, mate.
Well, you know,
There's a consonant in there somewhere. Oh my God. Yeah.
There we go. Plenty of damage at the plenty of damage at the front of that Porsche. Arthur Thurtle didn't get off the line, as we kind of thought he wouldn't, really, sadly. And that Porsche has seen better days. Matt Hoyland is looking good, I think, although he's lost 1 place. Biggest winners there then: Cowlishaw, Allbear and Aidan Millward up 11 and 15 places respectively. However, Fraser, Hunter, Phillips Lucchese and Jakob Krafek down more than a handful of positions off the start then. So Christopher Starsmore and Adam Watson, the 2 leaders in each class, at the front of the order. And check out all the gravel going through turn 1 there. An absolute mountain bucket a bucket load of it on the exit of the first corner. It was pretty big by the looks of it.
A hell of a lot of it, yeah. You can see the rest of it in the background there. But no, unfortunately, Arthur Thurtle with some damage, hopefully not as a result of contact with his teammate, because that would be 2 races and 2 teammates making contact into turn 1. Similar move to what we expected earlier by Plurg, and he gets down the inside. That was lovely. See, that's exactly what I think his teammate wanted to do earlier, but you've got to leave room on the exit as well. Thurtle, well, I don't like intentional contact. I don't think that was intentional from Arthur, but I think that Plurg, for the lack of space he gave, he got what he deserved there, to be honest with you. That little push in the rear was maybe a little bit of protest by Arthur, but these guys need to chill out and realise that it is pre-season and they have to calm it down a little bit. But yeah, rewinding to the incident at the very start there, Joe, I think, to be honest, I don't like to point fingers, but Justin Eloff was the Lamborghini that suddenly appeared down the inside on the right. He hits the BMW, which has already got a great launch. They're 3 wide, look. He tries not to overtake before the start-finish line, but look, it's just... Oh, actually, you know what? It's Vincichevsky, isn't it, that gets into the back of the Beamer, and then it's just all concertina effect after that. But, I mean, Eloff went in late no matter how you look at it. He went in very, very late. But, yeah, Vincichevsky, caught out by the BMW in front of him, hits the back of that car, and I think maybe he was looking at Eloff, and Eloff was looking at him, and they both, well, just found themselves in trouble.
and then it was a bit of an idle, not a rejoin, but it was a bit of an idle spin from the BMW, who was, I believe, part of the original contact, who sadly came back across the track, and that was sort of the secondary contact that we saw, which then didn't help, sent a few more drivers off the circuit. I'm not sure if this is going to be the same incident. We're not going to cut away from this one as Thurtle thinks about it at the inside of that. It wasn't Thurtle, was that? Sorry, who?
Yeah, that is Thurtle, yeah.
That is Thurtle. Who's in the Ferrari leading the way here? Is that Starsmore? Yes, it is. The Simcast
Starsmore
Racing Team UK, who's leading his class, and currently he's got an absolute wild pack behind him. All the while, Adam Watson getting on up the road, the Mercedes pulling off to the left-hand side of the circuit there. I'm not sure if he's disconnected or if he's pulled back to the pit lane. But that was a slow Mercedes on the inside. So pressure on Christopher Starsmore here to try and keep this pack behind. All the while, Adam Watson disappears up the road.
Aldershaw's had a drama. He's just lost a couple of places at the hairpin. Maybe a little bit of contact here and there. But yeah, Watson flying at the front of the pack, much like he did on Tuesday night in the GT4s that was broadcasted. He has disappeared. But yeah, Starsmore, a couple of elite drivers now behind him. Arthur Thurtle with the Superleggera front end on the 992. Intrigued to see where that damage came from, though, because he wasn't involved in the early incident. So I don't know if he, especially on the front of the car as well, considering he was in front of Adam, that's strange damage to have. I'm not sure if Mark Fletcher, the team boss, will have to have a hell of a debrief with the boys tonight or what. But right now, it looks to me like Arthur is having to defend here from Serd Plurg. And Plurg is, well, he's not backwards and going forwards, is he? Much like his teammate in the other Mercedes. The two of them hoping to make as much ground up as they can. Arthur late on the brakes. He's good at that. He is very good at that, is Arthur. Down the inside of the Ferrari, gets it worked out, and in the background, the car around. And I think that was
Lucchese, maybe.
Yeah, was it? Plurg's around. Plurg's around and off.
Around. Go.
Flipping heck. They're dropping like flies.
Yeah, I was actually looking for something to do with Arthur Thurtle in the timing sheet. Nothing seems to stand out. He didn't go off track, and I don't see any collision either with him. So I'll keep trying to have a look, because that would be interesting, because he did avoid that incident at the start, and then all of a sudden he's lost his front end. So we'll try and figure out what happened there. Let's go back to this one. I apologise if this is just turn one again. It's Luc Lucchese coming back onto the track. Surely he doesn't cause any more issues. No, he doesn't. But does he get... Oh, look at that crabbing. And then he just about avoids the Porsche. So that's the same incident. Then Vinciszewski's. This must be at the hairpin. Yes, it is. It's a zone wobble. Just slight contact on the back of, was that Cowlishaw potentially? And then the HHR BMW feels a bit sorry for him. And in the side of him he goes.
What about Danny Phillips there as well? Because Danny had that massive accident in the McLaren here. Lewis Hunter then. Oh, flipping heck. Oh, no. It's so painful. Oh, it's so painful. But
what was
Danny
the name
Phillips,
there, Chaz? Danny Phillips.
Yeah, Danny Phillips turned the McLaren 720S into a 570S very, very suddenly. And, I mean, there was not much left of it at the end. In that early skirmish, we lost 8 cars from the beginning.
Whoa.
Unfortunately for me, Joe, yeah, it's not working for me, so you'll have to call that one.
Well, Chaz, what's happened there is he's done a forward roll. He's rejoined the circuit, and then Joe Sparrow has absolutely... I'm going to have to watch that from Sparrow's perspective.
Oh, yeah,
actually,
I've just seen it on the broadcast. I have the broadcast open on my left-hand screen at the same time. For some reason, the replay not working for me, even though I saw the car at the time, it was rendered in, but my word.
Yeah, I've seen barrel rolls, but I've never seen an effective forward roll there. That would be a neck breaker in real life.
That's a front flip, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. Wow, that is how Sparrow's Mercedes ended up in such a terrible state that we saw just parked up on the right-hand side of the track. And then Vinciszewski's has had one more on the way around the final corner. It's probably just a spin. Why you wouldn't come into the pit lane? Oh, well, he tried, and then he's just whacked into the pit lane barrier there on the entry, but he's got no front end, he's got no rear wing, and he's past the pit lane entrance. Surely you would just bring it into the pit lane. He has now. Mr. Plurg is doing okay, but what a crazy start.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of unnecessary red mist in places here by the look of it for some reason. I know it is only pre-season testing, and sometimes, as I said in the earlier race, some of these guys want to send a message. You know, they want to show that these guys are meaning business from the get-go, but you do sort of think that the lack of championship points on the table here, maybe they're just letting their hair down a bit, getting stuff out of the system, trying to find the limits, but it's been a little bit careless in places. HSR Motorsport saying, can't say I'm looking forward to round one after this. Stitchbury saying it's absolute pandemonium, and you can bet that I'm going to be watching from my hotel room in the United States when all this is going on next Thursday. But yeah, busy stuff for us in the commentary box here, and I mean, it's hot enough in the UK right now, Joe, but I think, to be honest, it's going to be hot under the collar where some of these drivers are. Flipping heck.
I was going to say, you've got your money cut out for you for sure. Covering this might be a bit of a break if it's going to be this competitive for the entire season. Justin Eloff getting himself up the inside of Jannis Olberg going into turn one. Two drivers, of course, that will not be afraid of getting it mixed in with one another. About the closest battle that we have on the circuit. Wilson Weir ahead is in a little bit of a cluster with Bennyworth just ahead, and there goes Eloff around. Was that a tag, Charles, did you see, or is that of his own accord?
Might have been a tag there, but we'll have to see. I don't know where he's going now. Let's have a little look. Yanis gets a really good tuck off the exit. Oh, from that initial angle, it looked like there was a tag. It looked like he was much closer from where my camera was anyway, but definitely nowhere near him. Just in the second phase of the corner, when the car got hooked up in another gear, it just completely went around on him. And then he takes a... Oh.
Wow. Less said about that, the better, I think. I'm not quite sure why he drove 50 metres backwards and then did that, but, well, yeah, whatever. We'll move
Jesus.
on. And Lewis Hunter, this is just a replay reel, but it's kind of entertaining. This is Lewis Hunter in the Double H Racing going through, is that the hairpin again? The same spin, a pretty mundane, no, that's toward the end of the lap, isn't it? That's the final couple of corners. Another little, it seems like a lot of these guys getting caught out on the power in these new cars, of course. We've seen that more often, I think, than we have in other races for sure. Most of them doing okay, but a handful of these drivers really struggling when they're getting the power down, of course. Once you've overcooked the tyres once, it becomes a little bit trickier to get the power down, as easy as what you were used to before. But yeah, early doors in this race, you'd like to think that most of these guys would be just about getting up to temperature now. You'd think, how's it going so wrong for them?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like either they're just getting up to temperature or it's reached boiling point way too early. It's a very odd way of going about pre-season, but it's almost like the last day of school has been moved to the first day of school. It's crazy. We often joke about the whole last day of school vibe, don't we, with championships. You know, the last round is usually some of the most chaotic drivers getting their last bit of vengeance on one another and trying to make it look like an accident. But this has been lively, and let's not forget, we're only just over a third of the way through this race here, Joe. We've still got 18 minutes left of this feature race here at Okayama. Adam Watson leads. He's 6.5 seconds clear of Arthur Thurtle, who, despite having no front end on that Porsche, is absolutely flying. Christopher Starsmore, that we look at here in the Ferrari, the only Ferrari in the field tonight, leads his class and is third overall. He's got Adam Wilson-Weir right behind him. Ben Bennyworth not too far off the back of that as well. The whole top three in the Pro class separated by about 9/10 of a second. So we've got, despite all the mayhem, a great battle on our hands here, and I must as well compliment the wonderful spec map, the sort of texture of that number 4 Porsche there, the matte effect down the middle and then the metallic red stripes. Gorgeous looking race car in that Michelin livery.
It is. Let's highlight that for a moment while we take a look at the timing sheet. Of course, these three drivers, like you rightly said, Chaz, in a great battle in the final half of this race. Starsmore, Weir and Bennyworth will all fancy their chances. And something which I saw before, Chaz, which I definitely wouldn't have had on my bingo card coming into this one tonight. It has just changed the order, but Lucchesi, Denobrica and Eloff were in the order in the field together, but all under blue flags, which is something that I've never seen before. Normally those guys so competitive toward the front of the order, and as a team to be together on the track but under blue flags is quite a strange one to see.
Yeah, all one lap down is absolutely mad. There was a little bit of contact here between Adam and the Ferrari of Chris just in front of him. A little bit of a kiss through the hairpin. You've got to be really careful though of when you are going through slow corners like that, you can't just carry your own speed and expect the car in front to move out of the way. That's when we see contact and see unnecessary spins from people. I think right now Adam just needs to be careful not to make any contact with the Ferrari in front of him. At the end of the day, it is only pre-season testing. He doesn't need to take that win. Sure, there's bragging rights on the table, and he sends a message to his competitors for the rest of the season. But yeah, we'll see if that patience pays off. But Ben Bennyworth could be the one in the box seat right now, though, for Okayama Motorsport. And, well, if these guys get together in front of him, then as long as he doesn't get involved anyway, he'll be through. But looks like he's losing them a little bit at the start of this lap, actually.
Yeah, you're right. And I just want to preface that, yeah, the season does tend to tidy up quite quickly. People think it's... I don't know how to describe it, really. I mean, we've seen this time and time again in pre-season. For the guys who are new to all of us here at ESI on the channel, it does tend to be like this in pre-season, maybe in the first round as well, especially when more and more drivers show up. Next week, we're guaranteed almost to have over 50 cars. That's pretty much guaranteed. 55 would be good. 56 is our record. So we're effectively expecting double the amount of drivers tonight, which obviously you'd think, well, it's going to get a little bit worse. But I think this is a particularly interesting show of quality, let's put it that way, for a lot of these drivers. But this is not what we have come to expect once the championship gets underway. So fear not, we can turn up. The championship will be very, very entertaining and will provide some very, very good racing when things get into it. But I think it's also a lot of these guys will be maybe feeling the pressure to try and prove themselves. And also, let's not forget, we've got new guys that have been promoted. We've got new debuting drivers who've never driven with these guys before. And as soon as you get a picture and build up that picture about the kind of drivers and the techniques that they use when you race them, when you come up against them again in the future, you know what to expect, and it becomes a little bit more predictable. So I think tonight is a one-off for sure, like it can be often at the start of the season. What is definitely a one-off is the fact that we've got Vincenzewski's, Allbear, Elofton Obriga and Ukezi all out and in the pit lane, leaving only 3 elite drivers in the field out there on the circuit, and that is some quality on display that is now in the pit lane.
Yeah, that's possibly the most competitive the pit lane has ever been, actually, to be honest with you. It's an amazing lineup of drivers that are just sat there, unfortunately. We've lost a number of drivers from this race. Luke Lucchese there in the sidecar version of the Porsche has decided to park it. As you can see, a second incident has caused that damage. He's had it from the beginning, got into the pits, and then gone back out. This is what happened to Tristan Dennebrega. Oh, Cowlishaw around in front of him. And he's just decided, yeah, it's not my night, unfortunately. Not the best place to park it, though, unfortunately. Just has it stopped there. So this is what happened to Luke earlier on in the race. He's gone, oh, I don't even think there was contact there, you know. I think he lost it on the way in. Hopefully he doesn't get clipped by somebody.
It's a bit of a lunge, and then he went very, very deep. The inside Porsche didn't quite hook the apex contact on the rear right. And then that's not enough to lose your rear wing, though. Has he then a little dunch from potentially Spara on the way through? But then did he drop it on his own here? Because, of course, we saw the car crabbing heavily with no rear wing. I'll not ride on for too long. Let's watch through this left-hander. See if he loses it and goes into the barrier. I wonder if he overheated
the tyres by, you know, he still had it lit as the car went around into the gravel. So I wonder if he's overheated the rears and then not got them back into a good temperature. So then next time that he's had the chance to get on the power, it's gone to pot. Unfortunately, though, it means that Luke Lucchese is in the pit lane and out of this race. And it's a huge shame to see that, but there is the overall running order at the moment. We've lost a number of cars from this race, 8 of them, in fact. Last running car at the moment is actually Lewis Hunter in the number 92 Double H race, BMW. As we look right now at Christopher Starsmore, trying to hold off the Okayama Motorsport Porsche of Ben Bennyworth. Adam Wilson-Weir, now he's gotten in front. Well, he's started to stretch his legs at the front of the field, isn't he? Doing a great job.
Yeah, here's how it was done then. Same place as we saw him going up this inside of Luke Lucchese earlier on. Dives down on one of the best braking zones that you've got. Nice and easily done. Look for the switchback, did Starsmore, but then the door is shut and he gets that position, and that is him taking the lead at the front of the pro class then. So that allows Adam just a little bit to stretch his legs, putting in a few cars' lengths between he and Mr. Starsmore. All the while, Ben Bennyworth not giving him a break at all in the rear view of that Ferrari. Porsche will be filling it up at the moment, and we've got still over 11 minutes of racing left to go. 2/3 of the way through this race, then so much left to happen. And Starsmore started well. We'll be hoping to hang on to that position on the podium, which looks okay. 2 seconds ahead of David Hutchison is this pack at the moment. You can see that yellow Corvette just off in the background. Matt Hoyland, race winner from race 1, is there or thereabouts as well. He'll be hoping for contact between these drivers to try and get himself in a better position. But again, it's all about learning the car in this race. No points on offer, like we've said. So you don't need to do all this excessive contact with other cars. You should just be learning how to race, learning how to optimise your race distance in this car. And thankfully, I think most of the grid are doing that. There's just a handful of exceptions.
Yeah. And hats off to Justin Ilhoff as well. I must say this. He's posted in the Discord saying that was mostly on me at turn 1. He said he was too busy trying to outbrake Serd Plurg. He said it was stupid on his behalf. Sorry, boys. So fair enough to him. You know, he's owned up to it straight away. He's obviously looked back at it just to see what other responsibility there was. But yeah, that's the sort of sportsmanship you like to see, though. You know, everybody makes mistakes. At the end of the day, we're only human. And everyone that knows me well enough knows that one of my daily rants is the fact that in motorsport like Formula 1, you know, human error is punished far too harshly over moves that are absolutely stupid. You know, people get things wrong, people make mistakes and misjudgments. That's just part of life. You know, I don't think that every tiny little bit of contact should be penalised with 5-second penalties or anything. I think, quite frankly, in some cases it's gone soft. If it's a really ridiculous manoeuvre, then yeah, fair enough. Slap on the wrists, penalties, whatever. But it's good to know that there's still humility in that as well, and Justin's assessed it and realised that he was at fault down the inside, and hopefully doesn't cause any bad blood for later in the season. I think, to be honest, Joe, no matter how bad an incident is, as long as you do get an apology and somebody holds their hands up for it, that heals a lot more than it breaks, doesn't it, going into a championship and obviously progressing through one as well.
It does, and it's easily done. I think it does say a lot when you just take the time out, whether it's privately or in the chat, of course. Maybe both would be good, so that the rest of the drivers know that it's been quashed. But yeah, that's what you need. It's not hard to do. Some guys do it, some guys don't. But yeah, that definitely goes a long way in trying to mend whatever relationship these guys might have. We've got Tristan in the chat with his typical, well, not his typical sarcasm, but I would read that as heavy sarcasm, like a true Brit. Tristan putting on display there. This was so fun. Sign me up for the next 15 years. It's the most fun he's had with his clothes on.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he had his clothes off with the heat at the moment here in the UK. Aidan Millward was sharing images of, well, no, this is not going where you're expecting it. He was sharing screenshots before the race went live, showing it was still 28 degrees, and obviously far beyond that in his room where his sim rig is as well. And when you're in the rig and you're fighting and you're working hard, you know, people always forget how physical sim racing can be. On modern hardware, it can be very, very busy. And at the end of the day, it's mentally taxing too. People often forget that, and it is a very, very hot thing to do in an evening, especially if you've got a leather chair. It's always good fun to peel yourself off it at the end of the night.
That's great.
I'm even having that as well tonight, to be fair. I mean, I'm in the lovely, soft, comfy Secret Lab, but yeah, even with a shirt on, I'm going to have to peel myself out of this later. This is a great battle, though. Shut up, Chaz. Matt Hoyland down the inside here of David Hutchison in the Corvette. Two very different machines, one with a massive V8 up front, one that should have a massive V8 up front. And yeah, the manoeuvre is done by Hoyland, but there wasn't all the room in the world given there, was it? It was like he was back on Euro Truck.
He absolutely has, and Tristan telling us that he's actually being serious. So I've got the sarcasm completely wrong. I just figured the fact that he was in the pit lane, he may not have had the best outing, but he seems to be enjoying these cars with their new model, which is always good to see. Fingers crossed we see them back having a good time this time next week. And Matt Hoyland has done well to get himself up and past the Corvette. He's got about 7 minutes to go to try and chase down Ben Bennyworth. And I was going to say there, Chaz, when you mentioned you horrifically peeling yourself off that leather chair, for the first time I'm actually standing for this one. So I'm bouncing around a little bit, which is maybe why the Geordie's coming out a little bit now and again. But I've got myself a nice standing desk. I figured it would be perfect for work. It's also pretty good for the broadcast. And I feel free. I feel more free than I've felt ever.
I like that, you know. I wish I could do the same. I've got too much stuff on my desk for that, but yeah, I'm actually quite jealous right now because, I mean, I must admit, I'm leaning forward in the chair, but I've left my fan because, I mean, I wasn't joking about the Warhammer thing earlier. I'm in a real nerd phase with Warhammer at the minute. But when I've been sat painting on the sofa of late, I've had a fan in front of me because it's been so warm. I've left it on the other side of the office. I can see it from where I'm sat now. Normally it's right next to me, next to my desk, but tonight I am melting, to say the least. And I'm not even behind the wheel, you know. We're having a good time here in the commentary box. It's nice and warm, but yeah, I don't envy these lads behind the wheel right now that will be certainly boiling away. Aidan Millward, he's not necessarily on the boil. It's a bit of a slow simmer to begin Aidan's campaign. 10th overall at the minute. 11 places gained in this race, though, so technically, from starting at the back of the grid, he won't be too disappointed with this result, will he?
No, absolutely not. He's moved up 11 places in this race, 4 in class. Started down there in P11 in the Pro class, got himself up into 7th, so going pretty well for him at the moment. And, you know, for these guys, like I said, if you can just become consistent in the cars, learn your faults and learn where you can improve before the opening round, that's really what this session is about. Of course, people taking it a little bit seriously when it comes to the overtakes, but if you could just learn the machines, and actually, as I said before, it's important to figure out if you need to change your machine before you get into the season next. Of course, these guys will have done some private test drives, some private sessions, I'm sure, to try and get an idea about which car they want to drive. But of course, it's only been just over, what, 10 days, not even, since this tyre model came out, so there hasn't even been that long of a time, just over a week really, for these guys to understand what they want to drive. So I'm sure we'll see quite a change up in the order by the time we arrive at the first round this time next week. But going so far so good for the debutant for Brabham Motorsports. And then with Starsmore still hanging on to P2. We've had Ben Bennyworth filling his mirrors for the last about 5 or 6 laps. Still there, with just 4.5 minutes to go though. It might be enough for the Ferrari to hang on to that position that he's had for pretty much the entire race.
Yeah, these guys have had quite a long-standing battle, but it's not been too aggressive. There's not been constant position changes. It's been one of those interesting little chases that we like to see, you know. A lot of people only think that motorsport's interesting when there's constant overtakes going on, but often it's when there's a chase. It's going to be who's the first to break out of these two. Will Ben push too hard trying to catch up and make a mistake and go off? Will he lose time? Will Chris try too hard to defend? Will he sort of crack under the pressure of having that very garish Porsche right behind him? You never know which way round it's going to go, and this can be just as interesting. It's more interesting than Formula 1 anyway, but right now it looks like Chris has got enough pace to stay in front for the foreseeable.
Well, say quickly, a little shout out to the Simcast boys actually. I'm not sure if you saw, Chaz, but there was an announcement the other day. The Simcast guys and Matt Hunter specifically got in contact with the team, myself and James and Rob, and said, would you guys like to come on the Simcast podcast? So that was released on their Spotify channel, and it was also on Radio Le Mans over the weekend during the 24 hours. So for anyone that would like to listen to that, it's just a quick 30-minute conversation between myself and 2 of the guys over at Simcast, talking a little bit about my sim racing history, but then mostly about ESR, what we've got upcoming and what's happened in the history of it. So it was quite timely just as we crossed over our 2-year anniversary. So that link is available in the announcements channel. It's available in the race broadcast channel as well, and you can get it on, I think, Spotify and probably your other streaming platforms as well, but definitely on the Simcast Spotify platform if any of you guys would like to check that out. And of course, in that episode, it is more than just me, so you can get your teeth stuck into different things, talking a little bit about Le Mans, of course, the 24-hour race in the World Endurance Championship, and then a few little things in the sim racing world as well. So those guys put on quite a professional show, and they're back again for their second season with us here at ESR. It was quite a good season for Starsmore last season. I believe he was competing for the title in the Premier Division, but in the end wasn't able to convert. He's been promoted into the Pro Class now. Let's see what he's worth. At the moment, considering a promotion, he's doing pretty well. Second at the start, and he's riding right toward the front of the field. I'm sure that'll fill him with hope going into next week.
Yeah, that's the thing. Again, it's not just about sending a message to the other drivers, as I keep harking on about, but it's also building up your own confidence, assessing where you are on the pace compared to the other drivers around you. You know, it's easy to look at an entry list and just see who you're up against and, you know, wonder about what sort of pace level you're going to have. But, you know, actually getting out there on the circuit and being able to race these guys when there's no points at risk, then it's the perfect time to try and find that limit and prove yourself. My girlfriend Charlotte's watching tonight, by the way, and she's messaged me very unhappy at the fact that I've said it's more interesting than Formula 1. She is a humongous Formula 1 fan and a Max fan, which causes a lot of rifts in the household.
There you go.
But yeah, I know, innit? Talk about lack of taste. I mean, she's going out with me and she likes Max Verstappen. But, it's I don't know. For me, Formula 1's too much of a parade these days, but it's a rant that I could go on about for hours and hours. Anyway, Adam Watson, I could go on about him for hours and hours as well. Adam's such a paradox. Like, Adam, I address you in particular when I say this, because you are so annoying to commentate on, because he is so fantastically fast, and he's great at doing this, and just putting in lap after lap after lap, 13 seconds ahead of Arthur Thurtle. But then put him in the pack, and sometimes, he'll do an amazing job, carve his way through so elegantly and beautifully. But then as soon as that little speckle of red mist comes in, it can so quickly get unravelled with Adam. And he's fantastic to watch like that. He's great to broadcast and commentate on like that. But at the same time, it's so frustrating from a character development point of view. He's just one of those drivers that the character just oozes out of him. And to be honest, I think it's been lovely to see both sides of the coin tonight. In the first race, having a very troublesome race, and this time round having an absolute belter leading the way.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. He's on what will be his final lap now then to close out the session tonight. I must say, Chaz, have a word, will you? Just have a word. Anyway, Adam Watson on his final lap now, and the BMW doing so well at the sharp end of the stick. And like you said, he hasn't had any competition in this second race. Got off the line very, very well. Adam Wilson-Weir as well will be doing well. I said a lot of W's there in a very short space of time. He's going to do well to stay at the sharp end of his pro class. Tech Plug still trying to get himself around the outside of Dan Cross going into the first corner for the last time. However, this is elite versus a pro driver, so nothing to be gained here by Tech Plug, but he will fancy his chances at just trying to prove himself again, of course. A champion who's arriving back once again. Is he going to be forced a long way around by the BMW? Yes, he is. He might just want to shift the brake balance a little bit, try and get the car to turn and pivot a little bit easier, but on that occasion he's had to stick right where he is. He's got the run, but again the BMW is going to nicely defend that inside line, make it a little bit harder for him. Ben Bennyworth is pretty close in behind Christopher Starsmore, looking to close out this one as Plug. It's probably unlikely to get that move done now. I don't want to miss the leader as he crosses the line, but I also want to see if Ben Bennyworth has one last chance to get himself past Christopher Starsmore, who's defended that position so well. In the end, he will not. And here he is, Chaz. Across the line goes Watson.
Fantastic victory that for Adam Watson, and that's exactly what we expect from him. It was an RDSA 1-2 in the first race, and it's now going to be an Altitude 3M Esports 1-2 in the second race. Arthur Thurtle drags what's left of that Porsche across the line, and Adam Wilson-Weir takes a victory in his class as well. And third overall, an overall podium. Christopher Starsmore, second in class, holds off from Ben Bennyworth. Race 1 pro winner Matt Hoyland next up. Serd Plug is going to get a podium in class despite being 8th on the road. And a busy night of racing, oh hello, comes to a close for these guys. But that is, maybe not very friendly at all. I mean, yeah.
He got it done. Great battling between the pair of them, actually. He gets it done. Just a little bit of contact on the exit of that corner, but that is how Czech Plug got that one done. Finally got himself on the inside line. He's still fighting it around the outside as Dan, but then he can't hold on. And Mr. Plug gets that one done right before the final set of corners.
You can see Dan's frustration a little bit there. There was a little bit of unnecessary contact here and there, but again, it takes two to tango with stuff like that, unfortunately, and they both did the dance in certain parts of that. But, it'll rile them up for a little bit. They'll go away, hopefully not go anywhere near the keyboards, and then it'll be all right.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. Fingers crossed, lads. Stay away from the keyboards and everything will be fine then. So the final couple of drivers around and across the line. Here comes Gerald Fourie, and then Lewis Hunter and Luke Lucchese still out on the track, but finishing 1 and 3 laps down, respectively, with 7 drivers out of this race prematurely. Denobriga, Elof, Olber, Sparrow, Phillips, Vinciszewskis and Trafek. It'll be interesting to see how those guys get on this time next week when we start the head of the championship then. So that's it, and these guys will make their way into the pit lane, and when they do, we'll be able to bring you the results again, which will be an even shorter one. I'm gonna stiff you with the Pro Class again, Chaz, and keep my job nice and easy. Hang on. What was it? What was it that guy said before? Let me find it. Hey, giggity.
Yeah.
Just saw that one popping up in the chat before. Right then.
Didn't come here to get stiff with nothing. Flipping heck.
Very good, very good, very good. Right, back to it then. So the Elite Division drivers coming up first, and it's going to be very, very easy. Only 3 of them crossed the line in the end. That was Adam Watson and Arthur Thurtle. What I must say, I was going to say before, Chaz, the Altitude drivers, the Vulcan drivers, and the RDSA drivers. Last season, we had this sort of unwritten rivalry that we thought was going to be sparked between the Vulcan Motorsports team and the RDSA team. We didn't really see that come to fruition until the back end of the season, but it looks as though there might have been a third team entered into the fray here, because Altitude looked very competitive, and we haven't even seen SimCoach in and amongst it either, so potentially very, very busy and very, very competitive at the sharp end of that Elite Division when we have, hopefully, a full grid next time out then. So, as we said, Tech Plug finished 8th overall, but 3rd in his class to get onto the podium, and then after that, Luke Lucchese, the last man to take the checkered flag, even if he was 4 laps down. Following that, Donobliga, Allbear again, 13 and 15 laps down, alongside Elof, who had drama at the start, and Vincesevskis, who barely got going off the line after that pile-up into turn 1.
Right then, business end. Adam Wilson Weir. He took a great victory in class there. A lovely battle with Chris Starsmore and Ben Bennyworth. Ends up with the latter 2 behind him in 2nd and 3rd places. Matt Hoyland won the first race, ended up in 4th place in the second one, with David Hutchison in the Corvette, making it, well, what's that, 7, 8? Oh no, it's not actually, because there's 2 Porsches. Clearly, Chaz can't count or see. Dan Cross finished in 6th place, Aidan Millward 7th. He'll be a little bit more relieved after that one. And then it was Young Gonzalez in 8th place, Paul Cowlishaw 9th. He's had a busy night. And James Howarth completes the top 10. Behind him was Liam Fraser, then Gerald Fourie. He was the last car on the lead lap, with Lewis Hunter 13th, and then Joe Spara, Danny Phillips, and Jakob Krafek all falling by the wayside with the earlier dramas on the opening laps.
There we go then. So that is your race results recap after this pre-season outing. And we will, Chaz, have a quick word with a few of our drivers, maybe 2 or 3 of them, to get things underway. If you don't mind resuming those duties on behalf of Dara, if you can just drag them in, and then we'll get underway with some interviews. We've got Watson, we've got Thurtle, we've got Hoylands and Howarth waiting to have a word. So let's bring in Mr. Adam Watson then for a quick word with us. Adam, are you with us, and can you hear us?
I can hear you. And hi.
Good stuff, mate. Well, welcome into the booth. Welcome to ESR. I guess the first thing is just to say, well, welcome into the league, and you can just talk us about how that was for you tonight. Of course, a lot of new drivers for you to come to terms with, and it seemed like it was a very, very comfortable second race. But starting first with the opening round, it was quite busy in the midfield, I think it's safe to say.
Yes. So all I'm gonna say is yes. Yeah, it was very busy. It's also like it's a learning exercise. Obviously, the BMW is a completely new car to me. I'm more of a Porsche merchant, or I've driven a Lambo before, but it was all about learning. The BMW was a handful on cold tyres. Unfortunately, I got sideswiped on lap 1, which put me into another car, and then just a few little, should I say, close shaves, and then a bit of other things, getting to know the other drivers on a more personal level, should we say.
I was going to say, next up, Adam, obviously, you know, I've given my usual narration of you and your ventures, as you can expect throughout the season, but it was great to see you in a new car again. And obviously, getting elbows out here and there, and you know, yeah, I mean, the phrase I've said all night is sending a message, and that's sort of how you have to use pre-season testing sometimes, don't you? It's not just about building up your own abilities, but it's also showing other drivers what you've got to bring to the table.
Yeah, it's not more sending a message, it's more like learning what other drivers are going to do, so you learn how did they react. If you're behind them and you, say if you make like, even though like a feint of a move, what are they going to do? Are they just going to like just block you by just turning right, or are they are you going to get living room, or what is possible with these? Because obviously a lot of them are new. There is a lot of over-ambitious stuff, personally by me as well. I think, especially I did one on James which didn't work. Thought I could brake as late as I do with the Porsche, and realised I'm in a BMW which weighs a ton and doesn't turn or brake.
Yeah.
So it's all about just learning how other people are.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Sorry, Joe.
We were both going to say that, Charles. I was going to say, Adam, yeah, so the first race was busy, yes, but that second race, I mean, that's maybe the ideal way to have a pre-season, you know, learn the drivers around you, get your elbows out a little bit. But that second race, you got away, the pair of you, of course, leading the field at the start of the second one, and then you just ran away with it, building up a huge margin by the end of the race. So that was a good opportunity for you to just scope out the BMW, I suppose, and get a good handling on it. So it seems like you're pretty comfortable in that one.
Yeah, so the BMW before this new tyre update was a bag of spanners. Where you wouldn't want to touch it, but since the new tyre model and the aero and all the other stuff was able to, I was just learning it, and I've been enjoying the car again. So once I got a gap of about 3-4 seconds, it turned into more of a test session of, can this car be consistent? What are we able to do with this? So I was messing around with TCs and brake biases throughout that run. So I was just seeing where we need to go with the TCs and brake biases through as the tyres, and because obviously the new tyres.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Well, yeah, fingers crossed that you guys have a very competitive season. We were just saying before the race finished that we've got yourself, we've got the Altitude guys, we're going to have the Vulcan guys, RDSA, and we've got the Sim Coach team who weren't with us, all boasting some pretty competitive drivers. So I'm sure you're looking forward to that one. The drivers as well, but the team seems like it could be a really competitive championship, especially in the Elite Division this season.
Yeah, so I looked at the entry list and realised there is actually some really competitive drivers, competitive teams that are in this, so it's going to be really fun. Obviously, me and Arthur, but there's also Joe Newman and Tim Perry who's coming to join us for the season. So we've got a good, strong team, relying on each other for what we can do, and yeah, I think it's going to be a really good season with everyone. Obviously, there is a lot of quick people as well, so I think it's going to be mixed results, and we'll see what we can do with the season.
Good stuff, mate. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We usually give people a chance for a quick shout out if you'd like to. Anyone before we let you go, and then we'll move on to a couple of other drivers.
Yeah, just the Altitude team, the Altitude sponsors, Jonathan Walker, Mr. 3M, and a shout out to the Simcast guys, because I work with them on coaching and other stuff and give them a hand, and I've heard they've done really well tonight, so it's been really good to see them do that as well.
Good stuff, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in your prep, and we'll see you back out on track next week.
Thank you, and
good stuff,
thank you for a good night.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Well, there we go. Adam Watson, bless him. So, as I said, you know, it's a bit of a paradox sometimes is Adam, as we move on to the next driver, Mr. Hoyland, and I'm sure, Joe, that some of his teammates aren't going to hear the end of that first race.
No, absolutely not, Matt. We were saying you ended the season how you'd have liked it to have gone, and then you've started the season with a pretty good result, of course. Talk us through that first race. You managed to convert the victory in class. You had a great time a fortnight ago, and it looks like in that very, very boisterous livery that it's gone pretty well for you again.
Oh, that's the first person to call it boisterous about some other things, but yeah. Yeah, the pace was all right. I mean, I did the practice race like 2 days ago, and I think the track temps must have been a lot lower, because I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, the car feels great. Came in today and I was like, what has happened? why do I have no grip? But I was managing to live with Paul. I think Paul Calishaw ultimately had a bit more pace than me, but he was fighting with, I think it was Adam that he was fighting with actually, and they ended up turning each other around. So I inherited, but yeah, just kept it clean. I think that's going to be the main thing, judging by how many people have been skittling off into the scenery this season. So yeah, keep it on the road, try and have some decent pace, and yeah, if they all go like that, I'll be more than happy in a few weeks' time.
Well, to be fair, Matt, I mean, it's a night where you've got to sort of assess where you are in comparison to the rest of the field and the other drivers on track. Was there anyone else that sort of caught you out tonight or sort of showed early signs that they're going to be a good rival to have throughout the season, other than Kyle Shaw, of course?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to tell at this point. I mean, I spent time pretty much around everyone, especially with race 2, obviously getting caught out in turn 1. That put me a long way back and I had to try and fight my way through. But I know there's also been some guys caught up in accidents like Danny Phillips. He came in strong last season, but unfortunately got absolutely annihilated in race 2.
You can say that again.
Yeah, they were, and I know this obviously from the size of the grid tonight, there's a lot of people that just haven't turned up for pre-season as well, which I know is quite usual. So I don't know. I'm not getting ahead of myself just yet. I think everyone who was in pro obviously deserves to be there. There's been quite a few come back down. I know John Breitenbach's going to be in there, and he hasn't been here this evening, and he's always very strong. So I think just take it as it is for now. Just go into next week. Obviously, it's nice to get a bit of experience in with car. Really enjoying how the Merc is now. It feels a lot better than it did last season, but yeah, just turn up next week, see what happens, see where we finish, and go from there.
And of course, a little new look team for you guys this time, the DXT by ORA team. So we had Mr. Stitchbury in chat with us for a lot of that race. So just talk us through that one. Of course, it's yourself, Josh Ostick and Owen Seward pairing up for this season. So Yayan, the lone elite driver, and then 3 of you sharing the points in the pro class. Have you got many ambitions for the team's championship this season, or just play it by ear and see how the team fares?
Yeah, I think obviously I'd be getting a bit ahead of myself. I said we're going to try and win teams. I mean, obviously we'll do the best we can, but yeah, just see what we can do. Obviously, Stitch he is very quick. I think everyone who's in ESR at this point knows how quick he can be, especially in some unorthodox cars. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time racing with particularly Owen and Yayan as teammates recently with the Nürburgring endurance and stuff, and I know just how good they can be. So I don't know, maybe we'll be underdogs, see what we can do. We might be able to upset a few people, which it'd be nice to get up there.
Good stuff.
Well, it's certainly been interesting. Sorry, Joe, I'm not good at this.
No, you go, Chas, you go.
I'm not good at this whole alternating interview things. Normally, Ed May just doesn't say a word. But either way, Matt, still sticking with the Mercedes again. Is it feeling much different to how you've had it before, or is it still a bit closer to home than anything else that you've tried?
It's enormous, the difference, to be honest. I mean, the driving it pre-update, I suppose we could call it. Oh, as I've just seen myself go on the grass on the replay. Pre-update, it was kind of like there was a rare occasion where it worked. I think that was the reason I managed to squeeze out a win. Obviously, the reverse grid works really well for you, but Monza being so flat out, the Mercedes has always been good on straights. So it sort of hides its flaws a bit, but it was kind of like driving an ocean liner. It felt very heavy, very sluggish. Now it feels more alive. You get a lot more confidence from it, a lot more feedback, and it is just all around nicer. You can, if you are losing pace somewhere, you know where, rather than just feeling like it's just not wanting to play ball. So I'm sure the more time I spend with the new model and stuff, the more comfortable I'll get. But I'm very pleased with it so far. Yeah.
Very good, mate. Well, thanks for joining us. Congrats on a very good start to the season. And you know what's next? If you'd like to give a shout out to anyone, you can go ahead and do that now. And then we're going to go and speak to our final driver.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to, well, we've got technically 3 teams this season, so
Jesus.
I'm not going to come out with the names after you slated for me earlier. But, yeah, shout out to all the guys that are going to be racing for us. We've got obviously Danny Phillips and Barry Wenman joining us as brand new guys to his team this season. So nice to have them along. We've had a nice chat with them. Obviously, Joe Sparrow joining us as a last minute addition as well. So hopefully, yeah, we'll as a team we'll bring on some trophies at the end.
What you can do, Matt, is just pronounce them for us, because that'll do me a favour. I try to say at the head of the show, but I probably got them wrong. So, do you know? I'd like to hope you know.
I'm pretty sure that Camar is the one with the Q.
Yeah.
So, which is the easy one. The other one I think is Zemps.
Zemps.
Something like. Yeah, something like that.
Zemx.
It's sun and moon in Maltese, basically. But it sounds better than sun and moon. So that's the entire reason I went with that. So I'm not 100% sure. I did, when I was Google translating, attempt to get it to say it, but it would not say it. So I may have to look up some sort of YouTube video and try and find out for you.
Yeah, I think that'll be a task for me and Chaz as well to do, to try and get that one going for the rest of the season. But nevertheless, that's not your responsibility. You're just with the simple ORA team now. So good stuff. Good luck with you. Thanks for joining us as always. And yeah, good luck with the prep. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you, guys. Catch you later.
All right, man. See you soon. Rightio. So there goes Mr. Hoyland then. We're going to bring in one last driver to have a word with. That's going to be Mr. Arthur Thurtle, the second of our Altitude 3M esports drivers. Sadly for Arthur at the moment, the image on the screen is plenty of damage on the front of that Porsche. But first, Arthur, are you with us, mate? And can you hear us?
I'm with you, I can hear you.
Good stuff, mate. Well, welcome into the booth. We just had a little word there with Adam, talking about all things to do with yourself and the team, of course. So talk us through that one, of course. It's, I believe, your ESR debut. I know you've been part of Chaz's series as well in the past. So how did you enjoy that one? A bit of a scrappy opening race for many, many people. And then sadly, I think you got caught up in something a little bit earlier on in the second race. We actually couldn't find it though. So just talk us through that one. How was that for your opening round with us here at ESR?
Race 1, the start was absolutely epic. I think I was slightly better on the cold tyres than the chap that got pole. And yeah, I just couldn't get clear of him to be able to cut him off. So I had to leave him the space, obviously. And because I knew once he got in front of me, that was it. I wasn't going to be able to keep with him. And then I dropped it by accident on turn 2. And yeah, then had fun trying to catch up. And then in race 2, it was on the second lap, I think it was, or first lap. The guy coming out of the long right-hander before the back straight, the guy I was alongside spun into my front left. And so for the rest of the race, I had terrible understeer and was about a second a lap slower than what I was in the first race. Otherwise, if it wasn't for the damage, I'd like to think I could have given Watson a real good race. But in the end, I just had to manage the gap, and it just got worse and worse throughout the race. But I loved it. It was brilliant. It was chaotic, but it was good fun.
I was just thinking as well, Arthur, with that chaos you mentioned, was it a case of, with there being no points at risk tonight, you feel like you could let your hair down a little bit, or was it still treated as if it was a point scoring round?
I mean, I still treated it as if it was a points round. You've got to, you know, we're going racing. We've got to put on a show, haven't we? When it's being broadcast by yourselves, it's no good if we're all driving around in a procession. So got to go for it. And I think with the few of the guys that weren't there tonight, it could have for some of us, it might have been our only chance to win a race all season. So we'll see. I'll always give it a real good go as best I can.
Yeah, we're expecting it to be quite a competitive one, especially in that team's championship. Some of the quickest drivers, should I say, not with us tonight. So that'll definitely shape up the order and shake it up a little bit this time next week. But ambitions for yourself and the team coming into this one, Arthur, do you fancy your chances at being quite competitive, or do you just fancy seeing how it goes and then maybe, you know, once a couple of rounds into the championship, maybe you'll get a better idea as to where you're going to stack up?
I mean, after tonight, I'll be happy getting consistent top 5s with the guys that aren't here. I'll be happy getting consistent top 5s. And for the teams, me and Adam are always... It doesn't seem to matter what cars you put us in. Me and Adam always seem to be almost identical pace. So I'd like to think that we'll both be up there every race. So I'd like to think we'd stand a good chance in the teams if we can both be consistent. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm looking at the team now. You've got yourself alongside Adam, of course, then Joe Newman, Tim Perry, all of you in the elite division as well, which is rare actually amongst the teams. For example, a lot of the RDSA drivers are with you in the Elite Championship. We've got some of the sim coach guys there as well, but the vast majority of the teams are often spread out amongst the classes, so that's a different dynamic in itself, of course. You all fighting over the same points. I wonder, are you just going to race, or might there be some, maybe not team orders as such, but I guess you're not going to battle each other too hard throughout the season, but hey, maybe you guys like to get your elbows out with one another.
We will race each other, especially at the start of the season. If towards after the midway point, if one of us has got a clear shot at the driver's title or something, then obviously we're not going to go battling them if they're in front of us. But other than that, then we'll race. We'll just keep it sensible.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that all stacks up, because the teams, it was competitive last season, but it looks to have got even better this time. So we appreciate you waiting, of course. We appreciate you joining us in the end as well. We give everyone a chance for a shout out. If you'd like to give that to anyone, then you can go ahead and do that now, and we'll wrap up the broadcast.
I'm sure Adam shouted out the sponsors for free, so I'm going to shout out my wife for being she's been a brilliant wife, really. She put the little one to bed tonight so that I could be here to do this.
Lovely.
And yeah, really appreciate it. So yeah, shout out to the wife.
Yeah, we've had a couple of nice little shout outs over the last couple of weeks, fathers and grandmas and mothers and whatnot, and there's a new one, the wife. Love that, mate. Nice and simple. Happy days, and she's let you hop in the sim and have a good fun here. So good stuff. Enjoy the prep, and fingers crossed it's another competitive one for the pair of you, and maybe even the other two teammates when we start the championship next week.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
Happy days, mate. See ya.
Bye.
Right then. So that is the interviews wrapped up, Chaz. It seems like a good group there in the Altitude Esports team. It'll be interesting how those guys get on. Of course, they've sort of added. We've had RDSA competing in the past, then Vulcan came along, and now these guys, and potentially one or two others as well. So it really does set us up nicely for what could be a pretty competitive season.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly sets a good precedent, like you say. And I think that we've got a lot of very interesting drivers and teams on our screens ready to do battle. I think it's going to be very exciting to see if some of them keep their egos in check here and see how the confidence builds and maybe falls through the campaign. But yeah, very much looking forward to especially catching up with the start next week, as we obviously remind people that you're broadcasting next week, and then it'll be yours truly for the remainder of the season. And it should be one of the strongest championships we've had to date, because the lineup is very, very tasty. And it's been good to do this together, and finally good to work together again, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely right, Charles. Looking forward to this one. Since we got it registered a couple of weeks ago, between ourselves, we'll have to pencil the next one in whenever that one might be. Perhaps on your platform at some point, if there's ever the chance there. So let's, fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to next week. Equally, though, I'm looking forward to getting back in the cockpit in just a few weeks' time. So I'll leave you all in the capable hands, of course, with Mr. Chaz Draycott and Dara Thacker for the first time. A new partnership. Be interesting to see. You'll have to remember all these little things, Chaz, and see if you can maybe put your own taste back to it. But yeah, overall, pretty, well, I don't want to call it messy, but it was very, very competitive. Arguably too competitive at times during that session there, but I think, all's well that ends well. In the end, I'm sure people will do some making up in the chat, and then fingers crossed when we get started next week, things get a little bit more serious and a little bit less frantic. So very good. I appreciate, as always, everyone who hangs around until the end. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I've literally just read your comments saying the exact same thing, so we're on the same tune there, Chaz. So very, very good stuff. Well, we'll close out now, and we'll give you a little bit of a taster as to what is yet to come here at Evolution Sim Racing, of course. So we have the GT3 Season 9 Championship getting underway tonight, and underway for round 1 of 10 next Thursday at 8 PM, of course. 2 splits, 120 drivers, all here on the Evolution Sim Racing YouTube channel for now. Then we've got the European GT Championship, which is still underway. 3 rounds to go over the next 6 weeks of racing. From memory, we arrive at Portimao, then we go to Spa, and then we go to Silverstone for the final round of a slightly longer format series between GT3 and GT4 multi-class racing. Following on from that, we'll have the American GT Challenge. Full American calendar in the GTE and the GT3 machinery, which will be a very interesting one for us for sure. We've never raced GTE cars here at ESR before, so that will follow on with just a couple of weeks break after the closure of EGT, and we'll pick up with AGT as well. The Danny Lee Porsche Cup alternate Sundays to our GT Championships, that is about coming to a close as well. Probably only 3 or 4 rounds left of the DLPC, and then of course anyone is welcome to join us in the Practice League Tuesday evenings and Saturday afternoons. Get involved in the Discord server. Scan the QR code on screen now. discord.gg/ESR will take you to the server where you can get yourself signed up. Sadly, most of, in fact all of our championships are more or less sold out. Still some positions available in the American GT Challenge series, and still about a month to go before that one gets underway, so still time to get yourself on the grid. But for anyone who just fancies a nice easy place to do some racing, Tuesdays and Saturdays in the Practice League will be for you then. So that's going to be it from us here tonight. I appreciate everyone for being pretty active, actually more active than usual in the comments, which is great to see in a pre-season race. And you can join us same time next week, same place, for what will be the opening round of the Season 9 Championship. We expect a whole host of additional drivers, 24 tonight. I would imagine we'll have the best part of 50, maybe even 55 on circuit for the opening one next week. So be sure to join us for that. Thanks all again, and we'll catch you very, very shortly.